unfortunately missing today as part of their lineup, just in the moon boot, rolled his ankle last week, and he'll certainly be a big loss for the Tigers as they come in as underdogs today against the Cooters.
Yeah, definitely. He's been a classy player all year. Probably underrated by anyone that's not inside the Torquay club. I think that just speaks volumes about how well highly rated he is inside Torquay. He's such a good player. He is across that half-back, and he can work through the midfield as well. So it's a real shame that he couldn't pull up today.
Big story here today is going to be how the Cooters handle the pressure. Last year they came in with no expectations at all. Everyone thought that it was going to be Geelong Amateurs after the dominant year that they'd had that would probably take out the title. And then again, the tag of favouritism that has followed as a side coming into a grand final hasn't been a good omen for the last few years, as the Amos have shown. So the Cooters come into that today with a little bit more expectation, as I said, and Torquay more or less can just throw caution to the wind, play a style of footy that took it up to Queenscliff a few weeks ago, and I'm sure Michael McFarlane, Craig McCorkin and his boys will give themselves a pretty good show against the white-hot favourites, the Cooters, who lost just the one game for the year, albeit on this ground against Drysdale.
Yeah, I tend to agree, although I do feel that I know Tom Lim spoke during the week about how, although it's a different feeling today in terms of favouritism and momentum, he says they always favoured themselves last year too. They didn't consider themselves the underdogs. They prefer that favourite tag, so I think that might speak a little bit today.
Yeah, it's a good way to go, and certainly there's a lot of confident boys in that Queenscliff side as well. Plenty of them that would have experienced it last year. I think you were saying 16 of 22 that'll back up from last year's premiership side, and when you add to that that there's some of the guys that they've been able to bring in, like a Brad Ridings, who finished second this year in the Les Ash medal voting behind Mottawarri's Josh Finch, then they're certainly a classy outfit, and there's a reason they lost only the one game for the year by 1 point and managed to win their way through by winning just one final to this showpiece game, the BFL season decider for 2012.
Yeah, definitely. You never bet against them throughout the year, though, too. I mean, they've always been the class side, and I think every team, they've been the hunted this year. Last year, Amos were the hunted, other sides were. This year, Queenscliff are the hunted, and I think that's why it'd be such an achievement if Torquay were to take them down today.
Take a look at a few of the matchups that are going to capture this one early on, and Jules Muncie will have the unenviable task of minding Jaden Durran in the goal square up Queenscliff's attacking end, which is to the right of screen. And then Daniel Dubois, who stands next to him, will have Jonathan Hobbs for company at the opposite end of the ground. Scott Hughes still waiting to see who goes to him. It looks like it might be Steve Owen, though, who's dropping back. Jake Headley also back to the defensive goal square for Queenscliff as well. We know that he's been entrusted with some big jobs over the last few years by Heath Jamison and Tom Lim. Going to be an intriguing game, this one. Queenscliff against Torquay. The Cooters coming in as favourites. It's BFL Grand Final day. Orvis to fly against McFarlane to kick things off.
Orvis taps down and won the tap with dominance, but it was Gleeson who won out for Torquay. He just went directly towards Clayton near that inside 50 mark, and he did well there. Clayton got trampled by a couple of Cooters players. Torquay have the first run at it. Clayton looks to go inside and does with a low flat punt, looking for Hughes. He's on 98 goals. That'll be an interesting side note to the game so far. Roscoe Holmes cleared it out, but it was only as far as Birchall for Torquay, who dropped the easy mark. Gleeson's still there again. The man who crossed from GFL for success. He's here today. Pumping it inside 450 was Jared. In fact, it wasn't Jared, of course. It was Nesbitt, rather. But backing up there was Owen, who did very well.
Yeah, really classy mark there, Steve Owen. We know how good he can be. Came wide. My apologies for the little bit of a cough. Went to his coach in Tom Lim, who couldn't keep it in. So we'll have a ball in. About 55 metres out from the Torquay goal. Orvis and McFarlane again to do battle. And McFarlane without Adam Bird will do most of the ruck work today for Torquay, you'd imagine. Little kick forward. Finds a bit of space for the Tigers. Orvis leads the race for Queenscliff, but under pressure from the leading goal kicker for 2012, Scott Hughes, who, as Gibbsy mentioned, Tim Michell and Matt Gibbs, your commentators for this one, sits on 98 goals. Dylan Chaplin-Birch, coming into last year's grand final, knocked off his 100 pretty quickly, and I'm sure the Tigers will be keen to get Scott Hughes a couple of early goals as well. Holmes couldn't pick the footy up after Orvis got the knockdown for Queenscliff. Plenty of numbers just sit on top of the ball as Clayton tries to keep it moving. Knocked it back towards Knights, playing his last game, but it's picked up by Ridings, who kicks wide. Jones is an option here for Queenscliff, couldn't take it, got tackled without the footy by Lovell, and a free kick on centre wing. Club room side of the ground at the Drysdale Recreation Reserve will go the way of Jones.
Jones hasn't. He's got Gibbs running down the wing if he wants him. Jones goes in that direction, but the kick wasn't great. Set a task for Dubois, who did okay.
Catch Gibbs.
Gibbs is now on that pocket. Gibbs, he runs off his man and kicks a cross goal. That was, don't know what he was thinking there. Tried to go the impossible, but instead it's kicked it out in the full. That wasn't great from Dan Gibbs.
Yeah, good shepherd though, Cameron Burnside, and that's a good sign early that you're on if you've got players protecting each other, which he did there, but wasn't the best finish, as you mentioned, Matt. Torquay bring it wide, far side of the ground. The kick's not pretty and gives Tom Lim a chance. His handball eluded Ridings, and then it went back to Lim. Orvis just slams it on the boot. Happy to gain meterage. The Guar in the contest. Gray over the back. Got the knockdown. Picked up Burnside. Shot on goal. Queenscliff have got the first. 2.5 minutes gone. Opening term of the 2012 Grand Final in the Bellarine Football League Seniors. Queenscliff 1 straight 6. Torquay yet to score. There's your trivia question, Gibbsy. Who kicked the first goal for the Cooters? Mark that one down to Burnside.
Yeah, criminally underrated, I think, too, outside his own club. He was named the BFL Team of the Year on the wing, Cameron Burnside, but he's always been underrated, especially over these last couple of years when you've got the big names of Gibbs and Ridings and Roscoe Holmes and those sort of blokes in the middle. You often don't notice his work, but he's done very well to get that first goal.
Definitely. So early running was with the Tigers. They did the early attacking, but Queenscliff with the first goal of this one.
Ball up in the middle. Orvis went up early and came down a bit gingerly too. The tackle in there was laid on Miller. Now trying to extract the ball was Gleeson for Torquay. It was wrapped up immediately. That's one of the things Queenscliff have been focusing on today. They know it's their hardness at the footy that could get them over the line. Torquay like to value themselves at that too, but I think Queenscliff might have the edge there. The ball's going to be up again once more. Orvis has a very hard task today in the ruck against McFarlane, who dominated last week as best on ground. Ridings read the ball very well, just shrugged off Birchall, gave it to Gibbs. Gibbs from 50 looks for home, trying to find Durran to sing there at the back of the pack. Jaden Durran!
Just seeing the flight of the footy that Muncie lost him. Durran plays on quickly, goes back towards Price and Deguar. Pick up surely a free kick, far too high. That's the sort of thing that sometimes can land you in the book, but hopefully for Aaron Gleeson's sake, that's not the case. He's going to be heated early. Deguar is in trouble, staying down, and Queenscliff's leading goal kicker has not moved after that hit from Gleeson. Gleeson's off.
Yellow card.
Yellow card for the high hit, and we know that the head in footy these days is sacrosanct. So Torquay are going to play with 17. Lim lets him know about it as well on his way off. That is a big moment early in this grand final. 4 minutes gone, opening term, Bellarine Footy League Senior Grand Final for 2012. Queenscliff might be down 2-21. The Guar just moving now. We see his legs kind of picking up, but often, Matt, what you see when something happens, in this case where a knock has happened to the head, the last thing the trainers want to do is move a person. So you imagine that he will be kept on the ground for as long as possible. He's trying to pick himself up at the moment as the sides come together. It'll probably be the 5 or 6 minute mark before we resume play. Currently about 4.5 minutes gone, opening term. Queenscliff leading 6-0. But how important is this moment going to be in the context of this grand final? Potentially Queenscliff's leading goal kicker for the season gone for the day. Torquay to play with 17 for the next 15 minutes, but at the end of the day, they're going to have 3 quarters with Aaron Gleeson back on the ground, and Queenscliff might be without Daniel Deguar for the rest of the game. Yeah, it's a massive trade-off. Firstly, I don't think Gleeson's hit was intentional. Obviously, we don't get a second look at it, but it seemed to be fairly innocuous in there. I think it might have just been a hit to the face, but Deguar, obviously, I know you mentioned about maybe trying to keep him down. Obviously, I think he tried to get up and just prove that he could go on with the game. Result, free kick to be taken by Ash McDonald, who comes towards goal and kicks it. So, important 15 minutes for the Cooters here to stamp their authority. The Guar looks very, very ginger as he's carried from to the sidelines by 2 and 3 trainers. McDonald kicks the goal, so Queenscliff 2 straight 12. Lead Torquay, who are yet to score. 6 minutes gone, opening term. And how important is Ash McDonald's role going to be now if Daniel Deguar isn't seen for the rest of the day for the Cooters? It will be massive. Deguar barely looks like he knows what day it is. Ash McDonald has got a massive task on his hands. He's always not always the most accurate kick in front of goal, so I think he's been setting a massive task today, probably playing the lone hand up front. Caldwell comes on as well to replace Deguar as the ball's back in the centre. Ball in the middle now, and is immediately won out by Queenscliff. They work it through to this near wing, and Caldwell, the man who just came on immediately in the thick of things, tapped over the top by Gray, did very well, very reliable in defence. Ridings was caught without the footy, and the umpire has paid a free kick. The other umpire, in fact, decided to pay a free kick to Josh Gray. Yeah, there's a bit of feeling. It was against Jones off the ball. I think a little bit of a hit on Travis Knights, who's up now. Caldwell lets him know about after Gray went, and flying there was Roscoe Holmes, who did very well to take the mark against a man
much taller than him. Holmes goes inside. Now Queenscliff can move. They go along looking for Ash McDonald. Did well to take the mark. Just put up the jukes and put him out in front. McDonald now turns around on a point and goes looking for Jones. Durran is there waiting. Durran on the second grab couldn't take it. He's hemmed in near the boundary line, lost his footing, and just working over the line was Muncie to do well for a throw in.
You just see already the meterage that and the acreage that's opened up out there because of, I think, the 17 men for Torquay. All of a sudden, Queenscliff with 5 or 10 metres through the centre of the ground moved it so swiftly, and ball inside attacking 50 again. That time Price was outpointed by McFarlane, who, as we said, going to do a lot of the ruck work today. Jones over the top trying to redeem himself, but there's 4 or 5 bodies on top of that football. So the umpire says, give it to me, about 30 metres out from the Queenscliff goal. They've got the first 2 of the BFL Grand Final for 2012. Dropped by Nesbitt after a decisive knockdown from McFarlane, picked up by Gibbs, slammed to the ground by Muncie and Lovell. Couldn't come up with a footy. And now it's a Queenscliff player at the bottom of that pack as Nesbitt lays a tackle and pumps him back to the ground. It was Jones again with his head over it. So once again, we'll have a ball up inside attacking 50 for Queenscliff. 8 minutes gone opening term. They lead this one by 12 points.
Caldwell went up high but didn't win the tap, and the ball came straight down to where it came from. Still all players around the footy and no one can get a quick handball out. We're going to have another ball up. I think it's interesting to see who's going to be the free man that Queenscliff decide to use. It might be someone like Orvis just brushing off the back of that pack, but Torquay will definitely be found out with only 17 men. The ball goes up again once more. Caldwell missed the tap completely this time. Hands out from, might have been Blake Lim, got the hands to McDonald, who went inside looking for Burnside. Orvis hovering around there, might have pushed in the back. Play on call. Birchall's kick went towards Clayton, who didn't get the kindness that bounces it, overran him. Now Torquay can move. The quick kick around the corner from Jonathan Hobbs, one of the league's best fullback, goes inside 50 for Gibbs. Had a hand over the shoulder. McDonald tried to keep it in, but we'll have yet another throw in.
Queenscliff doing all the attacking after a battery of attacks from Torquay in the opening couple of minutes of this one. Queenscliff lead it by 12 points. Almost 9 minutes gone. Opening quarter. Daniel Deguar off the ground. Concussed, we believe. As it's surfaced at the moment, and Tom Lim on the bench, I'm sure, has a little bit of work to do to try and cover him. At the moment, it's McDonald and Caldwell filling the key post for the Cooters. And that time, McDonald goes off the ground after doing the ruck work. Picked up by Hobbs, who threw it wide. Burchell was a chance, couldn't come up with it. Quickly laid a tackle, but Ridings just pushed him off. How strong. Caldwell a chance. Durran couldn't bring it down after he got the initial touch. Left on the ground. Durran, bang! There's a goal for Queenscliff, a classy move from Durran. He looks very dangerous at the top of that goal square. Muncie with his work cut out for him today. Queenscliff's lead all of a sudden is out to 3 goals, and the early signs are ominous for Torquay. It's 3 goals straight, 18 the Cooters. Torquay yet to score, 9.5 minutes gone, opening quarter, and certainly a matchup that's going to be of interest, especially to the Torquay fans, to see how one of their young stars that's still developing his own game, Jules Muncie, can quell the influence of Jaden Durran's
Yeah,
game.
just take a look at the big screen replay. You don't kick those sort of goals. That was insane from Jaden Durran. Swung off the footy, but still managed to get a foot to it. Queenscliff go 3 goals up now, and the ball returns to the middle. Orvis really overran it there. Orvis, rather. The quick kick away from Garner was smothered almost immediately. Just trying to lay the tackle in there was Diamond for Torquay, the new inclusion after playing all of the game in the reserves for the entire season. Diamond comes in as a replacement for Jarrod. The ball goes up now. Orvis once again at it and did win the tap this time. Overrunning it was Miller for Torquay. The kick out from Orvis was all right. The bounce did not favour Gray. McDonald was there, needs to lay a bump, did all right. Lim overran it too. No one can get a hand on the footy. McDonald, does he kick, does he handball? He dishes to Price. Price back inside to Lim. Lim's handball wasn't great. Troy Burke can mop up. Dishes to McFarlane. McFarlane to Birchall, and Torquay have the run.
Gray will take it away for the Tigers. Wanted Garner. Handball couldn't hit him. Zachariah Lewis off to Orvis. Gibbs going to have to be good in the contest. Lovell came over the top, slapped it away from him. And then Lovell lays a second tackle effort. Holding the ball, that's really nice by Tyler Lovell. Followed up, Orvis not happy, but didn't make an attempt. Lovell crossed the ground, wants his skipper, Troy Bird. We're into 5 today, under pressure now from Jones. Jones does nicely for the Cooters, knocks it out towards Price. Just couldn't take it. Handball back to Muncie, who ran off Durran, but he's Durran now, his direct opponent in the contest. Queenscliff have done well to mop up here. Ball still in dispute, though. Looks like a free kick will go the way of Bird, and as Lovell dumps Gibbs afterwards, it will. So Torquay with a chance to relieve a bit of this pressure from the Cooters. Their skipper Troy Bird, normally a very silky user of the footy, to take the kick from halfback.
Most certainly. Lovell's only young, but he's definitely a hard nut. He was not be afraid to get stuck into some of those Queenscliff players as he goes down along the wing. Who's there as a tall target? No in particular. Jones is hovering around at ground level. The quick dish handball out. Birchall lurking for Torquay. Now trying to take it down was Gibbs for Queenscliff. We know what he's capable of. Flattened was Clayton. and still not can grab a handle on it. Lim calling for holding the ball. The umpire's preparing himself, but he'll just wrap the arms up for a ball up. We know those positions the umpires like to get into. They give us a little bit of a hint maybe as to what they're going to call. Always interesting.
So 12 minutes gone. Ball out on the far side of the Drysdale Recreation Reserve, the opposite of the clubroom side. High ball Garner. Going to be players sitting under this one. One of those was Clayton, who had to get the knockdown for Torquay. Took it very wide, picked up Waith. He'll swing back inside, look for options. Lim's one of those with a bit of space to work in as well. Got McDonald, but he'll go further afield, looking to spear one to Caldwell. Umpire said good defence, Jonathan Hobbs, after he grabbed a little bit of shirt. Nothing doing, and now we'll play about 30 metres out from the Queenscliff goal. Lovell pushed off it by Gibbs. Durran a chance, can get a handball off McDonald. Snap around the body, already got one. Hit the wrong side of the boot, though, if you're a Queenscliff fan. Their first blemish on the scoreboard. Ash McDonald's got 1-1 for the day. Queenscliff are 3-1-19. Torquay yet to score. 12.5 minutes gone, opening quarter.
Interesting to think how much of this impact the 17th man is going to be playing that 18th man, in fact, for Queenscliff, as we're going to get Travis Knights to bring it back in. His last game for the club and his last game in the BFL today. He brings it back in and looks to go to the half-back flank. Hobbs got his mark spoiled. Play on cold. Orvis is there, hemmed up on the boundary line, was pushed as he kicked. The ball went out of bounds in the full. Orvis just shoved into the fence. He'll be all right, though, as he's getting up a little bit gingerly. Hobbs has had a good start so far, and it'll be Knights again to bring the ball back in for Torquay.
Certainly looks like, Matt, there's a real physical focus for Torquay. They've come out and targeted a few of these Queenscliff players. We already know that Aaron Gleeson is off the ground and will be until about the 20-minute mark after that high hit on De Guar. Ball comes wide towards McFarlane and McDonald. Headley from the back. Takes a really nice mark overhead for Queenscliff. Gives it off quickly to Lim. Orvis all on his own, the big man. Puts the jukes up. Had it absolutely eaten, we thought, but Lovell gets a chance to mop up after Orvis dropped what he should have taken. Queenscliff still with numbers. Price head over it. There's the advantage of having about 3 or 4 tools to siphon through that forward line, despite De Guar missing. And Hobbs, after taking a clearing mark from a quick kick, can bring it out the clubroom side to Nesbitt.
Nesbitt was always free and was looking for it and got the kick that he wanted. Dished it off quickly to Clayton, who did well to present. Clayton, a bit past where he usually plays in that half-forward flank, just went long looking for Folkes. Folkes loves a mark, was nudged underneath it by his opponent in Lim, who did well. And then the handball went over the boundary lines. Very physical so far. Queenscliff just holding that in their forward half.
We'll have the ball tossed back in. BFL Senior Grand Final for 2012 has Queenscliff leading by 19 points. 14.5 minutes gone. McFarlane, little knockdown. The Tigers inside 50 for the first time in a long time, but quickly Queenscliff will repel. Bircher with a little knockdown. Garner with a handball and go back inside 50 here, the Tigers, but it won't be for long as Holmes chips back and then kicks towards Burnside, who's got space to work in. Bird will put him under pressure, but he's too quick. Durran on the lead. Bang! Had it knocked away from him by Muncie. Thought he had it. Knights then with a handball to Gray. His ball to McCorkin, who was sitting behind. Not happy with the kick, though. 2-on-1 here, Queenscliff. Orvis needs to get over to McDonald. Can't. Knights chance to mop up now. Gives a handball back to Gray. Gray will bring it to the clubroom side of the Drysdale Recreation Reserve, where Hobbs, Team of the Year members, marked.
Hobbs has time to look and think. Went over the head of Birchall, looked for McFarlane, who was very good. Copped the push in the back. McFarlane, umpire said play on. Birchall down there, 2-on-1 against McDonald.
I think it's come off his foot as well, Matt. So free kick Torquay.
A good pick up there by yourself, Tim. So Birchall, the Colts eligible player who has really cemented his place in the senior side all year, has done very well of a back pocket, half-back, flank style player. He has the free kick now, so he goes back in board to Gray. Gray's got a runner in Muncie if he wants to go. Decides to go long instead, looking for Gross, who's playing up the ground. Adam Gross now has it in the middle.
Gibbs, he measures as you just quickly measures as you loose across half-back for Queenscliff.
Yeah, and that goes to McFarlane. Bounce off the back. Hughes is there. Just dish the hands to no one in particular. Who's waiting? Now Queenscliff can move. Dishing hands. Caldwell has it. And getting the ball back was Zach Lewis. Did well to Ridings. And Ridings goes. And now Queenscliff can go through Waith.
Waith inside 50. Wants Orvis. Bumps Hobbs off it. Too easy. Too strong. He's marked 35 metres out from goal, directly in front. And they just haven't looked like, since those early stages when they had 18 men, Torquay penetrating half forward. It's a 19-point lead. Orvis will kick from directly in front, 40 metres out. And if he kicks this, 25 points is an ominous-looking scoreboard for Torquay, 16.5 minutes into the first quarter.
Well, it's hard to fathom how one sort of differential in a man can do so much impact, but I think Torquay have just really been found out when they're around those packs and they've got that one less man, it's too hard. Orvis' kick is up and under in a high one. It was never looked like it was going to go through. He's pushed that one to the near side. Queenscliff go 3-2-20. It just makes such a difference, Tim. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, it definitely does, Gibbsy. Queenscliff all over Torquay in the early stages of this grand final night. As we mentioned, in his final game of football, to take it in again, the ex-Waffle player played a fair bit of footy with Subiaco, I believe, but that kick is ugly. Lands straight with Brad Ridings, and a player of his quality normally eats up these chances. He'll kick from a slight angle, 45 metres out from goal, and can make Torquay pay for a costly error from the kick out.
Yeah, second to the Les medal he mentioned, Brad Ridings usually doesn't miss. Very, very handy around goals as well as being a superb midfielder.
Ridings, just a bit of Josh Kennedy work on the run up. He nibbled at it a little bit, and it just looked like it was going right, always was. So a couple of missed chances there for the Cooters as we get ready for the reintroduction of Aaron Gleeson into this contest. Queenscliff 3-3-21, Torquay yet to score. They really have missed him, haven't looked like going forward since they went down to 17 men. We're only a couple of minutes away from Gleeson returning to the action.
Knights brings back in with a booming 70-metre kick. McFarlane was there, brought it down to ground level, dished hands up to Hobbs. He's been playing up a little bit where he usually is. Ridings now has it though with a turnover. Got it back to Burnside. Burnside went in board, and now Orvis has it. In fact, it's Price. Price goes in board, looking for his teammate in Durran, who came very late and gave away the free kick, which was probably fair enough. And now Troy Bird can move it through out of their defence 50.
Bird's kick takes it wide and then hits the knees of his teammate. Wearing 53, he's not on our list, but we will catch that one up for you. It's Nelson Brown, my apologies. And we'll have the ball tossed back in just outside Queenscliff's attacking 50. They lead it by 21 points, 18.5 minutes gone first term. McDonald and McFarlane. McFarlane used his strength to perfection there, got the knockdown, but now Waith with his head over the footy. Nesbitt tried to rip it off him, couldn't. No one's extracting that ball. Umpire says, give it to me. We'll have a ball up. We're almost bang on 50 metres, probably 51 out from the Queenscliff goal. They lead it by 21 points.
The Cooters with yet another opportunity as an open forward line, really, with only a few players congregating in that goal square as the ball is sent straight back towards the boundary line. There's that feeling of physicality. We're just waiting for Gleeson to return to the field soon. You just know something's about to happen soon.
The far end of the ground, folks, is being stood by Cashin. Owens got Hughes, a bit about on forward 50 for Torquay.
Now Nesbitt just extracted that one out there to McCorn. McCorn has players running through if he can go to it. Gray was there, decided to go to him. The kick wasn't great, but he still worked it out all right. Gray dished off. Now Torquay can go inside 50. Folks trying to take this one down. Got worked under it by Cashin, who did very, very well. Folks just trying to bustle off his man. Somehow got a handball out. Might have been called a throw. Advantage says play on. The umpire says, and now Queenscliff can move. They've got numbers. Queenscliff through Michael Lim. Goes along inboard 50. Trying to find, it was Waith, who was caught immediately with the footy and dragged down to ground. We'll have a ball up.
Yeah, give Torquay some credit. Their tackling intensity under immense pressure has been very good for this opening 20 minutes. Certainly Tyler Lovell across half-back has been one of the real strong exponents of that, and he was part of that tackle again with Nesbitt as Caldwell goes up against McFarlane, who's rucked unchanged for 20 minutes now. Bircher with a handball back to Knights. Knights hit the wrong side of the boot as he tried to get it going forward. He's going to have to work here. McDonald will lay a shepherd for measures. Works to 55. Orvis and Durran in the contest. Orvis over the back went one palm. Birchall cleaned it up for Torquay. He's going to have to be clean again. Kicked it straight into Price. Price's little hand gives Queenscliff a chance here. They're working 5 metres out, and then Hobbs says, boys, don't worry about it. Let's be cool here and just knock it through for a behind. 3-4-22 Queenscliff after that rush ball. Torquay yet to score. 20.5 minutes gone in the first quarter of the BFL Senior Grand Final for 2012.
Knights, the designated kicker, brings it in, and Torquay can move. They're just going to go slowly out of that if it's 50. No need to rush things. Nesbitt presents. It went up for the mark, was spoiled by Orvis. McDonald got it inside. Immediately tackled was Ridings. Nesbitt still floating around there. Malloy in there. The man who usually plays reserves, now playing senior today. Nesbitt overran it. Dished hands out. Garner lurking. Tried to lay the tackle on Measures. Did well. Held Measures after the tackle. Play on. McCorn along the line. Hughes is there and waiting. Pushing across over that mark was Clayton. In fact, it was Nelson Brown, but the ball has gone out of bounds for a throw in. Torquay's forward half, this wing. Ball tossed in again now. Caldwell just muscling out his man in the ruck. The ball went straight to the Torquay man of Diamond, who just lobbed it inside 450. Hughes had the position, but working back was Steve Owen. A classy component in that Queenscliff defence.
Hughes stayed down. Owen doesn't drop marks like that when he gets the opportunity. Kicks wide to a one-on-one contest. Gross and Caldwell. Free kicks going the way of Gross, who took front position after Caldwell just chopped the arm, the umpire said. Folkes stays back in the goal square as Gross brings it infield to Nesbitt. Got Lovell working past, but ignores him and instead kicks it to the man with 13 on his back. That's Shane Miller, one of the new boys in this side for 2012. His kick to the usually sure-handed Clayton, who dropped the mark. Gives it back to Miller. At the top of the 50, Ridings put the pressure on for Queenscliff. Handball over the top towards Clayton. And his direct opponent on that occasion for Queenscliff was Joe Kelly. Happy to track it across the boundary line. 35 metres around from Torquay's goal. We'll have a ball in. Queenscliff 22. Lead Torquay yet to score. 22 minutes gone, opening quarter.
Ball tossed in McFarlane, playing the lone hand of the rugby. Didn't win the tap that time. Queenscliff get it out with a long booming kick. Above there was McDonald. Didn't win the tap down. Jones hovering around, trying to extract it out of there. The Queenscliff players, they couldn't do much. Jones later tackled without the man having the footy. Wrapped up was Lovell. The umpire just waiting to blow his whistling. He does now for a ball up. We've gone 22 and a half minutes first quarter.
Queenscliff well and truly on top in this one, but Torquay, you just feel like have quelled the influence of some key movers in the last few minutes or so. Orvis, decisive knockdown. Lovell took it out, been good so far. Torpedoes the ball towards Brown. Measures, gave it over the top. It was cute, but it worked. Lim from half-back now, got Headley working for him. Press is going to come from that man, Brown. Headley got to be clean and is. Shows a clean set of heels too. Sprints away on the clubroom side wing, and his kick's even better to spot up Ash McDonald, who's marked 49 metres from goal. Got Ridings inside 50. Miller's going to have to work back quickly. Won't get there. Ridings marks and will have his second shot at goal for the opening quarter. Kicked the point about 4 or 5 minutes ago. The Queenscliff fans, as you'll hear on our effects mic, very happy. Ridings with a chance to go back and extend the lead to 28 points.
Well, he missed last time, but you wouldn't put it past him this time to kick a goal. Queenscliff with that 22-point lead, and I think also that lack of marking from Torquay was probably a direct cause of the 17-man that Torquay have out there right now. Ridings lines up. Cool as you like, puts it through. Queenscliff extend their lead. They've got the momentum. 4-4-28. Torquay yet to score. 23 and a half minutes gone. Opening term.
Absolutely all over them at the moment, the Cooters, and you struggle to see where the answers are going to come from for Torquay. Already one set of heartbreak for the day for the Tigers. Their reserve side going down before this one at the Drysdale Rec Reserve. Gross is going to be swung forward here. Cardi onto the ground to mind Orvis. You just look at the moves that McFarlane and McCorn are taking at the moment, and they look a bit shell-shocked, playing the eye up forward, but limited chances for Folkes and Hughes so far. Picked up Lewis, handball to Ridings, just shrugged the tackle, very hard man 2 tackle. Over the top, Burnside, Ridings overran it, Holmes wide. They've got so many options. Lim, left boot inside 50. Durran had the sit of it. Read it better over the back. Troy Bird happy to take it through. 2-on-1. Price and Durran close quickly on him, but concedes are behind the Torquay skipper. Queenscliff 4-5-29. Torquay still yet to score. 25 minutes gone in this opening quarter.
Bird has Cardi presenting. He went over his head looking for McFarlane instead, who won out in a 3-on-1 and did very well. McFarlane dished off hands quickly to Gray. Put him under a lot of pressure. That's got to be holding the ball, and it is. Roscoe Holmes laid the effective tackle. Umpires paid a throw. In fact, even though Josh Gray got his hand on the footy, it was Orvis who went inside 450.
Durran on his
looking
own.
long. Durran is there. He was waiting. No marking man. And Durran could line up for Queenscliff's fifth.
You could see that happening, Matt, about 30 seconds before it actually took place. As soon as Orvis saw that free kick happen, he sprinted from the top of the paint, got around. It was Holmes that laid the tackle. Durran read it perfectly and lost Muncie in the traffic. Now he gets a shot on goal.
Durran's pace too, I think, just outlines why he's so good as he just puts that one through the middle. Queenscliff 5-5-35. Torquay yet to score. This is starting to get pretty ugly first term thing.
Yeah, it is. You're just wondering how the Tigers are going to answer, if they will here, because they have not looked like having an avenue to goal. There's two very talented young forwards sitting there, hands on hips, not knowing when their opportunity is going to come. Owen has been very good on Hughes so far, despite the limited chances that the BFL's leading goal kicker has had. Folks, yet to touch the footy in this opening quarter. 26 minutes gone, 35-point lead for Queenscliff. Orvis flies against McFarlane. McFarlane's knocked down, was picked up by Miller, who on the left foot kicks towards his coach, McCorn. One of the co-coaches crossed over from South Barwon at the end of last year. Got pushed off at that time by Measures. Holmes picked it up, all class, kicks towards Durran. He's going to be in a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1. The fly was nice, and bringing it down there for Torquay was Hobbs.
Hobbs ever reliable. He has options if he wants to go. Miller was lurking around there. Hobbs does push to this near side, looking for McFarlane, a 1-on-1. Did well, used the body well against Orvis, and dished to his teammate in Gross. Gross goes for a run. The left foot kick wasn't great. Set a task for his teammate in Blair. Blair head over the footy. Headley copped a hard bump and was all on all fours, just trying to knock it out. Blair receives the free kick, decides to show a bit of candy to Jake Headley. Takes on one and goes inside looking for Folks. Folks sets himself, did very, very well. Was Cormac Cashin. Back of the pack, Hughes was tackled. Ball went tripling towards the boundary line. Who was there? Trying to take on a man was Garner. Threw up the handball to Hughes. Hughes tackled. A very good tackle. Turn around.
In the back, Gibbsy. Umpire not as happy as you, and
he's paid the advantage.
They took the advantage for a goal. So Torquay are on the board.
There you go. Torquay obviously just using what they thought was a free kick and kept on going with it. The umpire tended to agree. As we see the replay on the big screen there, a little snap around the corner was effective. Did get the name of that player there?
That means that the scoreboard here reads Queenscliff 5-5-35 have dominated the early going in the BFL Senior Grand Final for 2012. Torquay 1 straight 6. We've played 27.5 minutes in this opening quarter.
McFarlane, I think, has been gallant so far in his lone role as the ruckman. Obviously got no one to rotate through with Bird not being selected for this game. They do have other options with Cardi, who's seen before, but McFarlane goes up once more again against Orvis. And he did well. He probably won the tap there too, despite going early. Miller was running backwards, now chipped it over to his teammate in Cardi. Cardi has set a task, dished the hands back to Miller, who went the run too. Miller takes a bounce, Riding was closing, but Miller shrugged him off. Went towards Folks, copped a little bit of a nudge, was spoilt well by Cashner, who's dragged him straight to the ground. Cashner started very, very well on Folks when the ball has come near him and laid the tackle, so much so that the umpire will call it for a ball up. 28 minutes gone first term.
The lead is 29 points for the reigning premiers, Queenscliff. So much of this put in place by Heath Jamison over the last 2 or 3 years, built them into a powerhouse of the competition, and Tom Lim's only taken that on and improved this side even more. Gibbs, they won't catch him. The little whippet takes a bounce. That's the only way they're going to get him if he mucks up one of these bounces, but he is flying. Lovell ended up getting enough touch on him just to affect the kick. On the left boot, he gets Queenscliff inside 50 regardless. McCorn had to wait. Did it nicely though, just knocked it to the back. Ross got a lay of Shepherd. Measures didn't get there in time. Hughes on the lead. Owen does perfectly. This guy is a fair income star. Steve Owen picks up. Hughes will give chase, won't get there though. Gets a little 1-2. Owen, he gained about 30 or 40 metres with that play. Sensational. Durran under the pump from Muncie. And the umpire's pinged him for holding the footy and 50.
That's unlucky.
After all that, I don't know if he actually took possession of that. The replay would be interesting in it all, and it's at the end of the day a very long 50 as well, because the umpire's taken Jules Muncie to about 48 metres from his attacking goal. He wants Hughes. The fly that time came from Holmes, who takes it at ground level, managed to knock it down for Queenscliff. Kicks up along the line. Nelson Brown sits back for Torquay, takes an easy grab.
Brown pushed the inside 450, but who's it to? Queenscliff have tall men, they have the numbers, and just drifting back there, it was Holmes. So he has men to go to, looking around, just taking his time. In fact, it was Blake Lim. Lim goes along and finds Orvis. Orvis to go to that far wing and does so. Tracking back there is Ben Price up against Troy Bird. Price versus Bird. It's going to be Bird with the foot pace that wins out, but he goes to ground. Price kept his feet for a bit and then laid the tackle. All men at ground level now. Umpire will just call a ball up as we're about to tick to that 30-minute mark of the first term.
Could be long left in this opening quarter, which has been all about Queenscliff. The reigning premiers lead it by 29 points. 30 minutes gone. Umpire tosses the ball up. Queenscliff's attacking end of Drysdale Recreation Reserve, where the ball has spent a lot of its time. Lim puts a Torquay opponent on his backside, but very quickly picking himself up. That time it looked like it might be Gleeson back into play, because he was sent off a bit earlier in this opening quarter. A decisive moment. Deguar still off the ground for Queenscliff. Knocked down that time was from Lewis against McFarlane. No Queenscliff ruckman got near the play. Troy Bird that picks it up across half-back for Torquay. Kicks towards half-forward. Hughes leads out and takes a mark. 55 from goal. He wants Folks leading inside 50. Gained a bit of space on Cashin and marks. So there you go, the dynamic duo, Hughes and Folkes combining. And all of a sudden a 35-point lead could be cut back to just 23 on the quarter-time siren. If Folkes can slot this home, he doesn't really take his time. In about 10 or 15 seconds, just kicks towards goal, and that's why he didn't take his time. He loves that one, Michael Folkes. Big Torquay contingent behind the goals up that end of the ground as well. I said the quarter-time siren was coming. It well and truly was. Folkes goals right on it. Queenscliff 5-5-35. Lead Torquay 2 straight 12. We played 31 minutes in the opening term of the BFL Senior Grand Final for 2012. It's a 23-point lead to the reigning premiers, Queenscliff. For the second term here of the Bellarine Football League Senior Grand Final for 2012. Orvis flies up, completely missed it. Gave McFarlane a chance. Riding's got a knock towards his coach, Tom Lim. Couldn't take it away. Queenscliff with numbers around the footy now. Holmes and Lim just tried to keep it moving. Riding's in there as well for the Cooters. Took it away, but they've given away a free kick going the way of the Tigers. They kicked the last 2 goals of the opening quarter to add a bit of respectability to a scoreboard that was starting to look pretty average pretty quickly. 23 points is Queenscliff's lead. 30 seconds gone of this second quarter. Tim Michell and Matt Gibbs, your commentators for this one. Handball over the top, puts Garner under the pump, but the Tigers with a bit of run now, trying to get it moving. Handball ended up with Bird. Gleeson gave it back inboard. Now Garner inside 50. Hughes went up, couldn't bring it down. Went through the hands of Owen as well, his direct opponent. Cashin took Folkes after he grabbed it. Slung him 360 on the ground. What's the umpire going to say here? Any... I was going to say proper effort to get it out from Folkes, but the umpire was satisfied and said we'll ball it up. We're inside Torquay's attacking 50. Opening minutes of the second quarter, it's Queenscliff by 23 points.
The Tigers definitely going directly to Hughes every time they enter 450. A snap out of there from Gross, it might have been. Ball went straight over the goals. Folkes hovering around there now, trying to get it towards. Looks like it might rush through for a behind, and that is in fact the call. So measures will take it out of there. Queenscliff 750, Torquay 2-1-13, Queenscliff 5-5-35.
Torquay just breathing a little bit of life into this one after they were shell-shocked at the start by a Queenscliff side that certainly came to play. The good news for the Cooters, Daniel Deguar back on the ground as well. The man they know as Frenchie down at the Cooter Bowl after he copped a heavy knock early. Handball from Jones to Orvis, trying to work into his left but couldn't. Holmes gave it to Ridings, who just kicks for space now. Sets McDonald and Burnside a task. Birchall led Burnside to the footy, but all comers happy to see it over. It was Gray and McDonald also doing battle. Those defensive matchups look very similar for the Tigers. It's still Muncie with Durran and also Hobbs with Deguar now. Kick out of the pack. Goes to, in favour of Torquay. Clean bowls both Lim and Gross. Gross is going to work inside 50 though, because the Tigers through Nesbitt and Miller. Geez, there's some tats between those two. Go inside 50. Miller, that's nice. Here come Torquay. Oh, touched on the line. Talk about desperate last ditch from Queenscliff. It was Cashin that just got a touch to Miller's ball, which was goal bound. Torquay 2-2-14, Queenscliff 5-5-35. A sprightly start from the Tigers in this second quarter.
The Cooters to bring it back through, and they will do so through Measures, who goes very, very long and employs the kick. Orvis was flying, but Steve Owen just moved in front and did very well. Took the strong mark, it was classy. Owen along the line. Who's waiting there? It's Price. Price and Bird in a one-on-one. Bird did well to work his man under it. McDonald there tracking it down. He's near the boundary line. Hemmed in, hasn't got a lot of room to move. Tom Lim sells a little bit of candy. Lim looks up towards the goals and goes for home, but the kick wasn't great and just scuffed a little bit to the left for a minor score. 5-6-36 leads Torquay 2-2-14.
Yeah, left it a bit narrow there, the Cooters coach. First year coach as well, regardless of what way the result goes today. We're going to have some first year coaches celebrating premiership success. McCorn and McFarlane took over this year down at Spring Creek Reserve, as well as a short ball from, it looked like Muncie that time. What had been Knights entrusted with the kick out duties, but at the time Muncie kicked to a teammate who in turn found Miller, and Miller will go back across goal as well. Just trying to open it up here a little bit, Torquay. Jones put the pressure on for Queenscliff. The Tigers have got to come inboard now. Hobbs put the jukes up, took a good mark. Looked like he wanted to work, and he's run off his line and put himself under some unnecessary pressure there. So Orvis got a touch to the ball. Zachariah Lewis slung him in about 7:20 in the tackle, and then the umpire deemed it no prior opportunity. As you'll hear, Cooters fans not happy. Ball to be tossed up right on the BFL logo. Centre wing, it tries Drysdale Rec Reserve.
Orvis up against it against McFarlane, and it was there who won the tap out. Umpire is going to call a throw against Queenscliff, and it's going the way. In fact, it's going to be Luke Orvis's ball, perhaps. No, it's going against it. The umpire's not giving much away. It's going to be Gleeson to take the free kick. The man who was taken from the ground with a yellow card 4 minutes into the first quarter now has the kick. He's back and could be influential.
He owes his teammates, Gibbsy, no doubt.
Gleeson looks up now, just taking a fair bit of time. Why not? Looks to go down and goes long on the line with a long kick. McCorner's there, nudged under it was Clayton. And the ball is going to go out of bounds for a throw in.
Orvis just stayed down, copped a heavy knock from Clayton as he came through, but he's a tough boy, Nick Orvis. He'll pick himself back up. A guy that probably looked like his career was going to be pretty decent until he went up to the North Ballarat Roosters, spent some time working under Gerald Fitzgerald, and is now no doubt one of the premier ruckmen in the BFL. A handball from Measures to Ridings on his left boot. Might have been taken high by Gross. Umpire said that wasn't the case though. And then after Gross's pressure, Lovell happy to knock it across the boundary line at the top of the 50 for Torquay. The Tigers have done the early attacking in this second quarter. 5 minutes in, they've cut the deficit to 22 points, 14 to 36. Ball toss back in. That time Orvis with a left-hand palm, got it to Holmes. Holmes around his body on the left boot towards Jones and Knights, and then Knights with a double fister. Knocks it across the boundary line. Umpire says, throw it in, thanks. We are Queenscliff's attacking end of the ground here at, well, my apologies, Torquay's attacking end of the ground at the Drysdale Rec Reserve. They trail by 22 points.
Ball in Orvis now, and McFarlane coming in from that right side. He did come over the top and went all right. Clayton was the third man up and was effective. Spinning around like a top was Gross. Did okay. Garner got the hands out. Clayton trying to get a hand on the footy. Did okay. Pushed out to Gleeson. But it was Burnside who finally got the ball. Was legged. Play on call. Burnside turns around the corner and went to Ash McDonald. At the back of the pack did okay. Price pushed his man Bird off it. Price went back. Looking to go to Gibbs now. Gibbs has it. He's got the pace to burn. Gibbs, will he bounce the ball? He just kicks it up. Looking for Durran. Durran in the goal square. Couldn't take the mark. Durran still trying. He's handballed it out towards the boundary line. Gibbs has worked his way back, and it was an interesting bit of play there and a fair bit to take in, but the ball has gone over the boundary line for a throw in.
Yeah, great work, Tim Cardy for Torquay as well. Looked for all money that Daniel Gibbs was through on goal and likely to kick Queenscliff's 6th of the afternoon, but he managed just to get a touch in there that affected his kick. Almost landed in Durran's lap before Muncie got that knock away. Ball tossed back in, and that time McFarlane came over the top of DeGuar doing the ruck work for Queenscliff. Through the legs of Jones, who tries to lay a shepherd for Orvis. Orvis's ball around the body was goal bound, but there's no doubt that that was over the boundary line, so we'll have the ball tossed back in about 25 metres around from the Cooters goal. We've ticked over just about 7 minutes in this second quarter, and the scoreboard reads Queenscliff 5-6-36, Torquay 2-2-14.
Yeah, still no goals to be had in this second term. It was Garner who just sharked the ball out of that pack and did okay with his drop punt that went about 50 metres. Headley got the ball, was tackled immediately. Now tracking back, it was Owen who just stopped and propped on the left boot. Set a task. McDonald who came up high. In fact, it was Ridings down the back who did all right. Roscoe Holmes has it now and just looks to go out wide and does so. Measures the kick and goes inside 450. Looking for McDonald who was shoved. Didn't get a free kick. Play on. Nesbitt, his kick was partially affected. Who's down there? Jones is also around. DeGuar going for home. He was pushed as he kicked, and Torquay can move it out all right. Knights is there, working his way. Knights, in fact, it was Muncie who was tackled. Play on called, and still so much down there. Panic stations. Durran hovering around there. Did end up sharking it. Got the kick. Was pushed as he kicked. Jaden Durran. 6 goals for Queenscliff, and a handy 3 goals for Jaden Durran. Pushes the Cooters out to 6-6-42, Torquay 2-2-14.
Just when you thought the Tigers had done enough, some pretty good work by Knights and Muncie to clear that pack situation, but there's how dangerous and opportunistic a player like Jaden Durran can be. Crossing over from the GFL to the Cooters last year, had such an impact in their breakthrough premiership success in 2011, and looking to be part of something pretty special here again in 2012. That right foot snap shows his quality and opens a 28-point lead for Queenscliff. Ball tossed up centre of the park, knocked down McFarlane towards Nesbitt, who ducked his head in before he got a little knock. So umpire said keep playing, boys. Gleeson, Holmes, who's been very good. Little left foot ball towards half forward. Jones and Knights. Gray will lead McDonald to the footy. Umpire almost got in the way, had to just little sort of dance his way out of trouble there. Suck in the gut, and he let them go past. So a ball from Torquay will find Nesbitt, who have liked his game so far. He kicks towards Clayton and Cardy. Got to keep his feet, Tim Cardy, and he does. Will want to swing it to the right or give it to Knights, but the pressure came from Tom Lim on Knights. So
he didn't call play on.
Orvis, who encroached, as Gibbsy called on Tim Carty's mark after there was no play on call, has given away a 50-metre penalty. And it was just through all that, Carty will probably end up kicking from about 20 metres out directly in front for Torquay's third and the answering goal to Queenscliff's opener from Jaden Durran.
I think perhaps what might have happened is that Orvis may have thought he heard the call. It's a decent 50 paid too by the umpire. I think it's going to be Carty. Yeah, it is. Carty who will probably put Torquay's third goal on the board. It's not too much of an angle to speak of, about 20 metres out. Carty has had about a 30-metre run-up. He's gone well back, taking his time. The Cooters crowd well and truly trying to put him off. Carty lines up and he's pushed to the far side. Maybe it was the pressure that got to him. And a few of the Bronx cheers let him know. Torquay 2-3-15. Queenscliff 6-6-42. The Cooters will bring out their defensive 50 through what looks to be Cashin.
I think it's going to be Measures that takes the kick out Gibbsy. So Hughes will stand the mark, still stuck on 98 goals, Scott Hughes. Owen's doing the job on him today and doing it nicely. Measures ball, goes on towards the centre square. Big fly came from Owen. McFarlane got a little knockdown. Ridings can work into space now. His ball not pretty. Knight juggled it, and on the third and fourth attempt just couldn't bring it down, which let Price in. Price's ball inside 50. DeGuara chance. Jones will do the roving. Hobbs did nicely to knock it away for Torquay though. Then got pushed off the footy. Muncie under the pump. Gave a handball away as he spun in a tackle. Just had the arms free. Hobbs's ball towards half forward. Headley sat under it. Clayton happy to knock it down. Ferocious, fierce footy at the moment from both sides, and a ball over the top from Orvis. A fine Caldwell. Got Headley working past on the right boot down the far side. His kick though over the head of McDonald has been marked by Gray for Torquay.
Josh Gray ever reliable. He has men down this side, so he goes out to that far wing, and the Torquay decided to slow it up now. Queenscliff have got that zone defence covered throughout the middle. Queenscliff go along the line. McFarlane is lurking there, so too Hughes, but Owen at the back of the pack was too strong for Scott Hughes. He's done a marvellous job so far on the league's leading goal kicker, and he's doing it very, very well. Owen now back along that line. He's going to go long with a high up and under kick, all of 55 metres. McDonald has worked under it, and Carty did well to hold that one at the back of the pack. Dished off hands, and now Torquay can move through. That was a poor kick, and they've chopped it up and given it to Jake Headley.
Yeah, the skipper Bird kicked it straight down Headley's throat, but it might be coming back unless Price can put the jukes up and mark, which he does. Got Ridings working for him in the centre. He goes further afield to his lookalike McDonald, who puts the jukes up and takes a nice mark, brings it down. His ball's wobbly off the side of the boot. Might work though for, I think, DeGuara down there. Now in a 2-on-1 situation, the Tigers just can't control, and it goes off the knees of Knights and bundles over the boundary line. So we'll have a ball in. Queenscliff with the chance to set up. Maybe a bit of a set play here with DeGuara ruck against McFarlane. The ball came in quickly, and McFarlane got a knockdown. He has been the dominant ruckman on the ground. Ball outside towards Blake Lim and Nick Orvis that time, and Queenscliff through weight of numbers will take it back inside 50 here. Orvis liked what he saw further afield, kicks to a contest. Durran from the back couldn't bring it down for the Cooters. DeGuara did the roving that time. Big pack just emerges on the footy, and we'll have a ball up again. Just very, very quickly besieged upon there, the Queenscliff attackers, and the 27-point lead stays.
Ball tossed up, only 10 metres out from that goal line. Orvis was wrestling with his opponent. Garner just hands at the back to Muncie, who kicked it around the corner. Ball bounced badly for Brown. Gross was pushed heavily as he got the handball away. Now working through Waith, dished hands up. Carty was hovering, and the umpire has picked out a free kick to go the way of Torquay.
Just as Sam Waith went through there, Gibbs, he copped a little knock and threw it out as he was quickly tackled, so that's what it was for.
He went along the line, good call, Tim, and Clayton again was impeded on, so he'll take the free kick. Torquay have pushed their numbers forward. Brown was moving for him. Birchall's there too. He says, give it to me. Decides to go longer. Folks is setting himself. Going with the back of the flight was Caldwell. He did well. Hands out from Brown was okay. Folks lurking. Dishing the hands. Caldwell again gets it back. He got it to Waith, who was caught high, and he'll take the free kick. There's a bit of animosity there. Liam getting stuck into Diamond, and Diamond throwing his weight around.
So Diamond's given away the free kick that'll go the way of Sam Waith, left half back for Queenscliff. As we've touched on, Folks and Hughes yet to have a huge impact on this game. Folks has one. Hughes still stuck on 98 goals. Kick towards half forward was knocked down by Gray and McFarlane, who flew against each other. Lim got a handball away looking for Michael Lim. There's so many Lims on the Queenscliff side you wouldn't know which one's which, but that time it was Tom and Michael, and now Michael back in there again. Got a little knockdown. Geez, that was inventive from the Cooters. That's all class. But a free kick for a throw has gone against Tom Lim. One will be very interesting on the replay because what's been called a throw was a little knock from Lim to find Headley, who on the outside of the right boot put it through the big sticks. Torquay get a reprieve. 27-point lead stays for the Cougars, 6-6-42. Torquay 2-3-15 as Gross marks at the 14-minute mark of the second term.
Tigers well and truly let off the hook there. Gross has it now at defensive half-back. Just looks to go along the line and does so. McFarlane is there and waiting in a one-on-one contest with a fly from Clayton was okay. Nesbitt went down at ground level and still hovering around Clayton. Might have been tripped, play on called, caught one to the head, and the umpire has picked that one out. McDonald infringed. Now Clayton looks to go quickly. The kick was poor, he rushed it too much, and just holding up in the contest was Measures, did very well. Umpire nearly looked to pay 50, didn't. Gross's attempt wasn't great. Measures has time. Decides to just go with a long kick to that far side. Waith is all on his own. Will they talk? Yes, they do. Of course they do. Waith had Lim next to him. He decides to go along that line now. Doubling back was Orvis, and Torquay have the numbers to clean up in defence.
I just feel this game's starting to even up a little bit. It was a 35-point lead early doors to Queenscliff. Torquay haven't been too bad since they kicked those couple of goals late in the first quarter. Just struggling to penetrate those. Miller mops up a bit of a mistake and then ends up getting bumped off the footy himself. Price finds a bit of space, almost gets legged. Umpire says keep playing, boys. Tom Lim working in a phone box, gets it off Price around the body. Kicks a sausage for the Cougars. They've got their 7-6-48 Queenscliff. Torquay 2-3-15. The Tigers made to pay for overuse of the footy across half-back, and once again the lead out beyond 30 points. It's a 33-point lead for Queenscliff, 15.5 gone in the second quarter.
Well, just when you said you thought the game might have been starting to even up, that one really hurts Torquay because they've applied the pressure for the first 15 minutes of this term. They only conceded one goal before that, despite not kicking any of their own, and that one's really going to punish Torquay for their bad mistakes.
Definitely will, Gibbsy. As we said, 33-point lead now for Queenscliff. Torquay desperately needing some answers.
Ball back up in the middle now. Cardi, as we mentioned, is going to go into the ruck. It did actually okay. One out his own against Orvis, which is very good despite the height differential. The kick around the corner from Holmes while he was slung down. Gibbs is lurking there against Lovell. Lovell did well to win out. And then chipped that kick back. Went about 40 metres. Underneath it was Garner, but running straight through Headley with no fear. Went long. Lim was backing into the pack. Did okay. Gray there to mop up for Torquay. His little dribbling underground handball was good to the captain, Bird. Bird went along the line trying to find Brown, who marked it just inside the line. And the boundary umpire has taken control and called it out of bounds for the juggle mark over the line.
So ball will be tossed back in. Centre wing clubroom side of Drysdale Recreation Reserve. Torquay out of action this year, so it's our venue for the 2012 Grand Final. Cardi gave his all against Orvis that time and followed up with a second effort at ground level. Holmes sitting on top of the footy, but the umpire says no prior opportunity to Roscoe, give it to me. After Cardi followed up and laid the tackle, and a couple of Queenscliff teammates, as is often the style now, sat on top of the pack. Cardi and Orvis, that time Orvis used his strength, but his knockdown went straight to Gross. McCorn outpointed his opponent, and if he can get a clean handle of it, might be able to go forward. In the end, he fell over and had to knock it towards Gross, who played that one up, but did enough to convince the umpire that he was deserving of a free kick. It was Blake Lim that quickly grabbed him. Gross will kick towards his good mate Hughes on the lead, and he's got it in front of Owen. Just managed to lose him. A nice block from Folks, I should say, to get Hughes into space. And with 98 goals for his name, the league's leading goal kicker for 2012 can go back and look for, most importantly for Torquay's sake, their third, but also his 99th for the season.
Hughes marking out his technique routine. I don't think the 100 goals is played in his mind, rather it's just been a lack of opportunities and delivery to the ball. Hughes will kick from about 40 metres, lines him up. He's always accurate most of the time. We put the commentator's curse on him there. The ball goes deep. The back of the pack, Folks wants to claim it. And the umpire has paid it the way of Folks. At the back of the pack, he's gone against the old rule of man in front, and Folks will take the mark with a couple of balloons just impeding on the ground there.
Yeah, it's not often you see it, but Folks with a chance for his second here, Gibbsy. He'll come around and kick a little check side banana that's going to be a 6-pointer, and he loves it too, Michael Folks. He'll walk through those Queenscliff balloons and maybe pop a few of those, because he's got his second and Torquay's third. They're 3-3-21. He mopped up the miss from Hughes. Margin cut back to 27 points. Queenscliff 7-6-48. But the Tigers, But they've at least drawn level in this second term, Matt, and I think they just need maybe one or two to go into half-time with a little bit of hope that they can get themselves back into this contest.
Yeah, solid with a fairly quick reply. It's what they need to do. They can't let Queenscliff get into any sort of momentum. I think Torquay would be happy to take this margin to half-time, and McCorn and McFarlane would look to come out and rebuild and try a few different tactics, because they've got those guys like Bellarine who just seem to be running away from the Torquay players.
Ball tossed up centre of the park, and it's McFarlane against Orvis. It is a very nice looking Drysdale Rec Reserve today too, and this is looking nice for the Queenscliff Footy Club as Holmes kicked towards half forward, but again Hobbs did well for Torquay, gave it off to Gray working past Birchall, a chance over the back of the pack. The fly will come from Garner. This kid's all class, takes the mark and on his right boot kicks towards half forward. He's got Clayton. Malloy's going to stay down in the contest. Headley came over the top. Clayton on his non-favoured right kicks towards Blake Lim, who was happy to keep it moving forward. Picked up for Queenscliff that time by the man in 24, Joe Kelly. Headley happy to go across the ground where he's got Measures working in space. McCorn going to have to be good as Measures shows him a fleet set of foot. It kicks towards Ridings, who just had it knocked away from him by Muncie. Kick around the body, Ridings finds McDonald. Been good today so far, inside 50. Caldwell's going to fly from the back. Couldn't bring it down. And he's been done for a push as Gibbs tries to sprint away. Better not kick it because he'll give away 50 metres for Queenscliff's sake. Free kick going the way of Josh Gray, about 20 metres from Torquay's defensive goal.
Thought he just used the body all right there, Caldwell. Might have been a bit unlucky with that one, but it'll be Gray who takes the free kick and goes out towards that far side. Gleeson is there. Can he have an impact in the second half? We know how good he can be. Gleeson goes along the line to Miller. Miller, who's been so consistent all year for the Tigers. He's got a couple of running options. Gleeson kept going. He might go there. Instead, he decides to go further afield and finds Hughes well out from range. He's about 75 metres from goal, maybe even more. Hughes, where's Folks? He's tracking back. He wants to go for home. Decides to go for Folks, and he's there. 2-on-1 contest. Headley pushing back with the spoil was very good, and the ball just trickled over the boundary line.
You just don't want to become too conscious if you're Torquay on one of those key targets that they've got. Obviously, both such good young players, but Queenscliff will know where the footy's going inside 50, and that's why the Cooters are so dangerous. Those 4 or 5 options they've got. McFarlane came over the top of Orvis with a knockdown. Nesbitt got the hands out, and then it was just dropped by Torquay. Lucky to get away with that one in a pack of about 4 or 5 players. Umpire did some skirting. Probably just missed it in the end. About 5 or 6 players sit on top of this ball, and 40 metres out from Torquay's goal. We'll have a ball up. The Tigers trailing by 27 points at the 21-minute mark of the second quarter. It's Queenscliff 48, Torquay 21.
Ball up now, McFarlane, who's back in the ruck for Cardi, did well and won the tap out, but only as far as his teammate Gleeson, who was tackled immediately by Headley, and Headley actually stole it from him and got the kick out, a massive one, 16 metres, all of it towards McDonald. Ball just bouncing towards that far wing. The ball will elude Ash McDonald, and he'll have to see that one over the boundary line. But just a point on Torquay's forward lines, how they don't become too conscious. They often, Hughes and Folks, don't often work in tandem. It's usually either one or the other, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the second half, Tim.
Certainly will. Gibbsy, ball toss back in, far side of the Drysdale Rec Reserve. Durran led the race for a brief moment, and then it was picked up by Holmes. One of Queenscliff's best so far. He had a paddock to work in, but kicked towards Price instead. Bird got a little knockdown. That ball is running on. It's dangerous from Holmes, and I think it's Garner down there that'll just clean it up in time for Torquay. Kick towards Knights is going to go very wide, and the bounce on that occasion will elude Travis Knights. He looked like he was trying to track it, but I think in the end probably pretty happy to see it across the boundary line, which gives both sides a chance to get numbers across to the clubroom side of the ground and set things up again. DeGuire rucking against McFarlane. McFarlane with the knockdown, and Nesbitt loved his game. Miller a chance for Torquay depending on the bounce. Burnside tracks it wide, tried to give one over the top. The man waiting back that time was Kelly. Couldn't, and we'll have a ball up between the two benches here on the clubroom side of the Drysdale Recreation Reserve. The scoreboard reads Queenscliff leading by 27 points.
Caldwell was just moving through the rotation of the ruck there. Nesbitt might have had it, was held. Then spinning his way out of trouble was McFarlane, was tackled immediately. Now the handball out. Queenscliff did okay, but Gross had it. Was held without the footy. Play on call. Nesbitt copped a stray hand. Again, play on call. The umpire not willing to pay anything. Now he will for the leg. Was almost looking to pay advantage, but he brings back the free kick. Going the way of Torquay. Not the Cooter fans not too happy with that one.
Yeah, you can hear on our effects, Mike, that the Queenscliff fans certainly think the rub of the green's been with the Tigers. Gleeson with the free kick towards Folks in a one-on-one. Had it knocked away from him by Cashin, who quickly follows up with a tackle. And then Folks is wrapped up about 48 metres from the Torquay attacking goal. Hughes lurks in the goal square, but Owen's had his measure so far for Queenscliff. It'll be Caldwell rucking against McFarlane. Caldwell with the knockdown that time, picked up by Gleeson, hit Caldwell's backside and then went out across the boundary line on the full. As the boundary umpire will say, it was touched, so from about 40 metres around from the Torquay goal on the right half-forward flank. We'll have the ball tossed back into play.
Ball thrown in now. It's near that 50-metre line. Caldwell will be setting himself up in the ruck alongside McFarlane. Third man up was Clayton with the punch. He did quite well. Went straight towards Hughes, who dished hands, but Measures chopped it off straight away. And then copped a hard one from Gross. Kept running. Measures still kept running and dished the hands off now. Ridings was lurking. Still Measures is there. Ridings tackled with the footy. Just threw away the handball. Birchall trying to pick it up now. He dished hands. It was only as far as Holmes for Queenscliff. It's a bit of back and forth. Holmes just smashed it towards that boundary line, and he will find touch over there in the far wing.
Just two or three times there, Matt, I thought Torquay was going to break through, and then you had Ridings read a handball, I think Measures read a handball, and there was one other Queenscliff player in all that as well that just picked off Torquay's opportunities going forward, and that's why we're stuck back on centre wing.
We have seen plenty of turnovers for the entire game. Cardi was there and was maybe held a little bit. Umpire was not giving. Holmes to get the hands out and did okay. Now running through Measures on this near side. He's got a couple of options, caught in two minds. Deguar was there running and had the ball punched free by a strong, solid defence from Torquay. Jonathan Hobbs. Tom Lim goes long from 60 out. That's a fair old kick. Tom Lim was touched on the line by Bird. Some great checking back from the Torquay captain. Pushes the score at 7-7-49. Torquay 3-3-21. Gone 24.5 minutes, second term.
Used all of his experience there, Troy Bird. Read it really nicely off the boot and just got back in time. The legs wheeled him towards the footy. Touched it just before it went over the line. Nesbitt's ball will take it to the far side of the ground again. Clayton off his knees. Ended up with Burnside. Liked his game so far. Swings onto the right boot. Inside 50. Couple of flyers from both sides. Over the back, Jones a chance. Flicks it back towards the corridor through his legs. Underground handball, Gray to Knights. Had to be good. Great pick-up, Muncie. Cleaned up some trouble there for Torquay, but his handball wasn't great to Hobbs. Ridings with a chance for Queenscliff now. After trying to pick up, he wasn't all that clean, which is normally what we associate with the man that finished second in the Les Ash medal in his first season in the Bellarine Football League. We'll have a ball in. Top of the 50 for the Queenscliff Footy Club. They led it by 28 points after 25.5 minutes.
Cooters will be more than happy that the score is just stagnated. They've kept that buffer out about 5 goals. Even Torquay still can't press against this hard Queenscliff defence. Trying to bustle his way through there was Knights. In fact, it might have been Muncie. The ball was just chipped out now. Who can work it? Bird was down there at ground level. Gibbs towards goal. Goes for home, and again he's pushed it to the far side. Another out in the full from Gibbs. That's a couple now for the match that he just sprayed.
I think it's a case, Gibbsy, of a little bit too fast for his own good sometimes, Daniel Gibbs, and the mind ticks over as quickly as the legs do, and probably doesn't realise how much time he has on a lot of occasions, and we've seen that once or twice already today. But fortunately for his side, they hold a very handy buffer as we head towards half-time here. Last couple of minutes of the opening half of the 2012 BFL Senior Grand Final. Queenscliff lead by 28 points. Kick wide towards Gray. Knocked down after a contest. Went to Birchall, who was besieged upon quickly and was tackled about 52 metres from his defensive goal. We're at Queenscliff's attacking end of the ground. They lead by 28 points.
Just 3 goals this quarter so far. 2 to Queenscliff and 1 to Torquay. Jones snapped it around the corner, but only as far as Bird for Torquay. He didn't really look up. Jones didn't raise the eyes. Bird went across. Garner was there. Went along the line looking for Blair, it might have been, but instead his kick was spoiled. A little chip inside from Michael Lim was good and found Ash McDonald.
That was just horrible by Garner. You don't want to pot a bloke, Matt, but he had 2 or 3 options. All he had to do was chip it over the top and hit one. The kick was ugly. It meant that Queenscliff were in and had numbers going back the other way.
Yeah, he's coming off. McDonald lines him up and makes no mistake. That's a real...
Well, might have actually been Hobbs.
Hobbs it may have been, but Queenscliff push it out to 8-7-55. Torquay 3-3-21. That really hurts the Tigers.
Yeah, McDonald's got a couple now on the board as well, having an impact. Deguar been quiet. We know he was off for most of that first quarter, but not really impacting the contest in this second quarter either. You could probably excuse him after the heavy knock that he had. Orvis down to the goal square as well to try and stretch this Torquay defence. 34 points, Queenscliff's comfortable lead. 27.5 minutes gone, second quarter.
Caldwell will take up position in the ruck. His maker is McFarlane. Both go up, and McFarlane went a little bit early, so Caldwell won the tap down. Nesbitt was hovering around. A little chip kick out from Gleeson was good towards the boundary line. Trying to check it down. It might have been Brown for Torquay, it was. But the ball just found boundary line once more. 28 minutes gone, second term. Ball to be thrown in near Torquay's attacking 50. just preparing himself in the ruck is McFarlane, who's done very well so far, basically playing a lone hand. Cardi only for that cameo role. Went inside for 50 of Torquay, but Orvis was there to try and get it out. The ball was affected by the smother. Gross overran it. Tackled immediately, was met. Was Orvis again once more. Gibbs got hands at Caldwell. And now measures on that left foot. Very, very classy for his opposite foot. Went over the top. Muncie did okay. Was tackled 360 Revolution. Umpire's been paying that today. Didn't go. Burnside now has the run. He's got space to move. Burnside puts it out in front of Deguar. Went over his head. And Torquay have a couple of numbers down back. Who's there? It's Deguar. He picks up his own ball. Kicks for goal. And puts it through. Queenscliff 9-7-61. Torquay 3-3-21. Deguar, the man who we thought was out for the day, comes back on and kicks a goal.
That really hurts if you're a Torquay fan. It's out to a 40-point lead for Queenscliff. 9-7-61 the Cooters. Torquay 3-3-21. Early days, well and truly in this game, but 40 points against a side like Queenscliff, going to be a long way back.
Yeah, I'll tell you what impressed me too is that the ball went over Deguar's head, but he doubled back for that second F. I think that's what Tom Lim ensures his players do so much, that they keep pushing and they keep going for those second chances. And Deguar didn't let sight of that ball and ended up kicking the goal, which is really, really good from his standards.
McFarlane, again, will do battle in the centre of the ground in the dying embers of this half against Charlie Caldwell. Orvis resting up forward for Queenscliff. So the two ruckman battle again that time. Caldwell got a knockdown, but it went straight to Nesbitt. Gave it off to Gleeson, who shrugged two tackles and then kicked Torquay inside 50. Hughes with a fly. Owen out pointed him. Hughes ended up doing the defending. Gross fell over. Can Torquay come up with it? Hughes tackled just as he grabbed it. Liam, umpire says too high. Free kick, Scott Hughes. Queenscliff fans around our commentary position not happy. Clock ticks over 30 minutes. And Hughes gets a chance to kick number 99 again, and a goal that is desperately needed for his side.
And I think desperately needed for his confidence as well. Hughes hasn't got a lot of the footy so far, but for a strong forward like him to get himself going, he needs that goal. And if he doesn't get one in the first half, it might make him struggle for him to sort of make an impact second half.
Hughes comes in for Torquay. He's going to kick from directly in front, 30 metres out. That's never going to miss. Not from a guy the quality of Scott Hughes. He's got 99 for the season. That doesn't really matter if you're a Torquay fan at the moment at the 30.5-minute mark of the second quarter, though, because your side 4-3-27 trails Queenscliff 9-7-61. That margin at 34 points as we head towards half-time in the BFL Senior Grand Final for 2012. Gibbsy, just before that siren sounds, couldn't be far away. What are Torquay going to have to do from here to turn things around?
I think they have to lay a pretty hard tag on some of those midfield guys like Liam and Roscoe Holmes. I think they've been very influential in there in that pack situation. As the ball goes up now, Garner wins it down for Torquay and did well. Is there a chance for another Torquay attack? They've got to roll the dice here with only a minute left or so. And the siren, in fact, beats them to it. 31 minutes the siren went at. Torquay 4-3-27, trailing Queenscliff 9-7-61. There's a bit of biff there, Tim.
Yeah, there's a bit of feeling in this one. We certainly hope the cameras are still fixed on this, because I think after Mark Clayton was involved in a bit of an incident, there was a bit of push and shove, and players have come from just about everywhere. The emergency umpire in the trackies is on the field, just trying to separate the two sides, and maybe this little bit of feeling is just what we need from Torquay, because this game looked like petering out at one point late in that term when Queenscliff got out to a 40-point lead. They're a side that has barely been headed this year. They lost one game by 1 point on this particular ground against Drysdale, I should say. At half-time, 34 points is the reigning premiers Queenscliff's lead. Will Torquay be able to arrest it? We'll find out in the second half of the BFL Grand Final for 2012. To do battle again in the ruck to kick things off. As the umpire holds the ball aloft, here's Matt Gibbs to kick off the second half.
Orvis and McFarlane, as Tim mentioned, it was Orvis who went up quite early, came down with a tap and did all right. Went to his teammate Ridings, who just tried to extract it out of there. Was hit by a couple of players, Birchall, one of them namely. Went down tracking the ball again, and Ridings got his hand on it. Dished out the back to the other Orvis, who went all right on that left boot, pressing towards Price. The ball went over the head of McDonald. The bounce didn't phase him rather. Gray around the corner with a high and under kick, looking towards his teammate who was near that boundary line, Birchall. Chopped off, Queenscliff did all right. Tom Lim just hovering around there, and Orvis was tackled, holding the ball. Torquay's free kick. kick.
Really nice tackle by Birchall, pinned the arm, and that was why he got rewarded by the umpire. His left foot ball's a piercing one to Miller. Miller inside the centre square, hits up Gross, who's still just inside. He'll kick into the attacking 50 where he's got Folkes on a long lead, and he marks on the chest despite the best efforts of Cormac Cash and pretty keen Michael Folkes, who just slowly turns around to go back on about a 60-degree angle. Certainly not the side that normally favours right footers, but Folkes is going to back himself here from about 35 metres, 60-degree angle as I mentioned. He just comes in towards goal and starts at left, which is where it hangs. So Torquay get the first score of the second half, but it is a behind. They're 4-5-29. Queenscliff 9-7-61. The Cooters holding a 33-point lead, a minute and a half into the third quarter.
And what they need is an early goal. Queenscliff, despite only kicking a couple of goals in that second quarter, still have the momentum, so Torquay will need to quash that. Queenscliff bringing out now the big attempt from Owen was all right. He was being held. One arm was being held, so Steve Owen will take the free kick. The umpire picked up on that one well, and he's going to get the 50-metre penalty as well. Oh no, he's just given the hands. And now dished off to Ridings, so Ridings goes inside. The lookalike of Ash Mack puts it up towards Price. Went over the back of him. McDonald is there. Now trying to track it down. Lim just put it on his right boot around the corner. Durran is waiting. Durran goes to the mark. The ball was spoiled by Muncie. Did well. McDonald tried to brush off a man. Was caught with it. Dropping the ball. Incorrect disposal. Pay it what you want. Muncie will take the kick and goes across to Nesbitt.
Yeah, great second effort there by Jules Muncie. Got the knockdown and then the tackle as well, which gives Torquay a chance to penetrate half forward now, and they wheel through Gray, who's worked his way up the ground. He's marked 70 metres from his attacking goal. Got Folkes going left, which is where he'll go. He'll be in a 2-on-1. Measures and also Cashin were in that contest. Gross's handball was cut off by that man Measures. Gross comes back with a second effort, gives it back to Folkes. Folkes on the right boot. Snap hits the wrong side. Hughes is under it! On 99, Scott Hughes is marked. He's already got one this afternoon. Came into it with 98 goals to his name. He's got 99, and we wait and see with bated breath if he can slot number 100 and what effect it might have on the Torquay crowd. Will they infiltrate? He kicks on the left boot, snaps around. It was going home. And Scott Hughes might have 100 for the season because Blake Lim got a touch, but it was over the line. Hughes has got the ton. He's got Torquay's first in this second half. They're 5-4-34. Queenscliff 9-7-61. The lead back to 27 points. Not one person from the crowd went on the ground, so the security's done their job here at Drysdale. Scott Hughes, congratulations on a great season. 3 minutes into the third quarter, it's Queenscliff by 27 points.
Yeah, absolutely superb by Scott Hughes. Gets his just rewards for a superb season, 100 goals. It's what any forward would ask for, but I don't think it's what Torquay are needing right now. They want more goals. They need more than just that. They still trail by a good 4 goals. The ball returns to the middle. Ash McDonald goes up and won the tap well. He's moved, it was Orvis rather, who did it. And now Torquay move out of there, Queenscliff through Burnside, get it towards that far flank. The ball is tracked over there by Bird, and the ball will trickle out of bounds for a throw in.
It's gone out about 70 metres from Queenscliff's goal. They still lead it by 27 points. 4 minutes gone in the premiership. An all-important third term. Can Torquay mount something, or will it be Queenscliff to continue their domination of this contest? Lim over the top. That time of Miller for Torquay it was that sat on top of the footy, but too many bodies for the umpire to ping anyone, so he says, give it to me, boys. And just outside the centre square on the far side of the ground here at the Drysdale Recreation Reserve, we'll have a ball up, tossed up again, and the knockdown came from Price, who was the third man up. And again, about 4 or 5 numbers just besiege the contest and sit on top of the footy. One of those was Gleeson at the top of it all. We'll again have a ball up. Gibbsy, clear this one for us.
Players congregating around this pack. There's a lot of space out there if either side wants to use it. The ball was one down by Orvis, who did pretty well to get it to his teammate. It was Nesbitt on all hands, trying to get it down there. It was tackled immediately. Garner still over the footy. Cloud calling for ball. The umpire does not agree, just waves the arm, says play on. Still players congregating around that pack. He's going to call a ball up after all of that. It's panic stations down there, nearly 5 minutes into this third quarter.
Yeah, you can throw a blanket over about 20 or 25 players at the moment. There's about 6 at one end and 4 at the other, and the rest all around this footy. But Queenscliff get it moving with a little kick forward. Got to keep his feet here. Birdie fell over, but did all right to get it to Knights, and then who in turn gave a handball to Nesbitt, who kicked it straight into Burnside, and then it bounced off Burnside to Gleeson, turn, and then bounced off Gleeson to go back to Knights, who got a little ball forward, so there's plenty of pinballing and all that. Burnside ends up picking it up, and then gave it, don't argue, gave it off to Orbis on his favoured left, goes towards Deguar, who flew. Hobbs got the knockdown. He's had the better of that battle, no doubt about that, despite the goal that Deguar kicked in the last quarter. Snap around the body, Price. That looks handy for Queenscliff. And he answers Ben Price. He loves it too, the man with 21 on his back. Queenscliff extend their lead. It's back out to 33 points. The Cooters 10-7-67. Torquay 5-4-34. 6 minutes gone, third quarter.
You just feel that the Cooters won't allow Torquay to get any sort of run on. Obviously, the Tigers kicking the first goal of the terms through Scott Hughes. A quick reply only a couple of minutes later from Queenscliff. They will not allow any sort of momentum switch. Queenscliff have the stronghold in this game. I don't see them letting it up anytime soon.
Yeah, no excuses, obviously, but Josh Carragher would be very handy right now for Torquay to hold a player like Ben Price.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, broke his arm last week in sad circumstances. Queenscliff now can move their attack. Clayton says he wants to hold things up. Does he back himself 55 out? Many players wouldn't. Clayton might. He's still caught in two minds. Feels like he's going to load up now. He's going to do so on that left foot, but he actually puts it a little bit further inside of Folkes, who just went over his head. The hands out the back two from Lewis, and working through Queenscliff's defence. Measures now out to that far side. The kick was okay, made a real task for his teammate, but Queenscliff kept going. They move along that far wing. Price is there, the goal kicker who just kicked one. Bounced past McDonald, still trying to track it down was Gray, who's been gallant all day. Got it to Lovell, and then hands back to Muncie, who went around the corner, but McDonald chopped it off and did very well to bring it over the boundary line.
So ball will be tossed back in on the far side of this ground, which has come up in absolutely pristine condition. Looks fantastic with the big BFL painting in the Dow as well. Our great sponsors of the Bellarine Footy League seniors. Gleeson tried to burst his way through that pack, couldn't. And then there was a push, but the umpire said, give it to me, guys. I think it was Nesbitt that put down his direct opponent. Those two were just a few metres off the contest. Might have even been Ridings that came up with the footy at the bottom of that pack. Ball tossed back up. That time Orbis with a right palm got it down. Nesbitt read it best at ground level. Picked up, skirted the boundary, gave it off towards Miller, who got tackled without the footy but wasn't held for long enough for the umpire to put the whistle to mouth. So we'll play on again, and Queenscliff will go back towards Orvis, who in turn gives a handball to his brother. It was Nick to Luke that time, the big man to the little Orvis. Blake Lim threw that, got away with it. Luke Orvis slapped it back to Nick Orvis, who kicked a dead set mongrel towards Ash McDonald. Eluded Gray and McDonald in a one-on-one contest. Durran leads Muncie to the footy, picks up. He's got to know that he's going to want his left. Actually went to his right that time, Durran, and then got sat on by Gray. Gray managed to take the ball across the boundary line though. A bit of feeling between those two. There always is a little bit of feistiness when Jaden Durran's involved. We'll have the ball tossed back in 55 metres from Queenscliff's goal. They lead it by 33 points.
McFarlane just setting things up, and it was actually Zach Lewis who went in there for the ruck contest. A little bit of a change. He actually won his own ball, turned around and snapped on the right foot. Who was there? Deguar waiting at the back of the pack, but he didn't have any meterage on his opponent in Jonathan Hobbs, who was always so reliable in that defence. Hobbs now has a look, goes to the up and under kick, really setting a task for McFarlane. Headley was there, just worked his man under it. The umpire has picked out a free kick, and Headley was shocked and annoyed. But McFarlane will take the free. He looks to go long across the line. Down this wing position, Cardi was there, setting himself up was Clayton, who did well. Won the ball down, put it to ground level. He's got a man running, but Clayton's kick was poor, and the effect of the pressure put it out on the full.
Yeah, it was a good call, Gibbsy. Josh Blair had about 10 or 20 metres on his own. If Clayton's kick could have hit him up, but instead Queenscliff get a chance to repel, and they'll do so through Blake Lim, who spears a ball to Ben Price at the heart of centre half back for Queenscliff. His ball along the clubroom side wing went towards Headley and Burnside. Burnside was up in front of Cardi. Knockdown came from Holmes, who did the roving. Inside 50 now, ball alludes to Guar. Durran at the back against Muncie. Muncie will have to be good here. Took front position, did nicely. Got grabbed, umpire saw it. Free kick, Jules Muncie. Played it very well, and apart from maybe the opening 5 minutes when Durran looked dangerous, he has probably had the better of that battle.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Muncie's been very gallant, although that one just smothered straight by Durran. Durran's still lurking and waiting, and he did very well to force the ball over the boundary line, much to the success of the crowd.
Yeah, they love that one, the Queenscliff fans, and it has been a day of commentators' curses. Ball to be tossed back in, left forward pocket for Queenscliff. One here would be a dagger in the heart of all the Torquay fans that have travelled down to Drysdale today. Knockdown came towards Hobbs, who will take it away. It might even be Garner. It is Garner who sells a bit of candy now on his right boot. Works towards Hughes, who's in a one-on-one contest with Owen. Did Owen get the first touch? Umpire said no play on. Hughes in front position. Queenscliff fans in front of us are ropeable. You can hear it on the effects mic. Cardi laid the tackle in the end on Owen at the bottom of that pack, and we'll have a ball up on the centre of the BFL sign, clubroom side wing.
Owen has done a masterful job on Hughes all day. And it's going to be the restart of play with Caldwell and McFarlane in the ruck. Garner's trying to track it down there, kept it in and did all right, but the umpire will call for another throw in. Just so classy by Owen all day to repel the league's best forward from only kicking only 2 goals the entire game. Ball tossed in. Caldwell has front position and did win the tap out with a good hit. Went down to Roscoe Holmes. Awful hovering around there was Waith. Now Gibbs, the whippet, comes out with a real fleet foot. Looks for Match McDonald. Went over his head. Gray tracking back now. Will the boundary line elude him? It doesn't. McDonald laid the shepherd with Lovell. Gray dished hands to Diamond. The crowd is ropeable. Diamond goes back to Gray with the 1-2. He has Miller offering. Decides to go further than that. Looking for Blair. Headley chopped it off and did well. Dish back to Orvis. Orvis around the corner now looking for Durran. Durran inside 50. He's a hard man to beat. He beats Muncie to the ball. Durran turns around. Goes for home. Kicks a goal! Jaden Durran take a bow. Queenscliff 11-7-73. Torquay 5-4-34.
Yeah, that hurts Torquay's chances, no doubt about that. And you can only keep a good player and a player of Jaden Durran's class down for so long. Jules Muncie been so good for most of this afternoon, and it only takes 1 or 2 chances for Jaden Durran to hurt you on the scoreboard. Queenscliff's lead now back out beyond 6 goals. It's 39 points, 12-minute mark of this third quarter, and he can just slowly feel Gibbsy those first nails going in the Torquay coffin on their 2012 season and their premiership chances.
Biggest lead of the game too, if I'm not mistaken. The ball restarts in play. Caldwell copped a little bit of a knock, and so did McFarlane. Got up a little bit gingerly. The quick kick up in the air from Roscoe Holmes was okay. Birchall sat underneath it, tried to claim the mark and didn't.
Trouble.
Waith just jumped straight on him. The umpire will call a ball up. Thought it could have been a head-high tackle maybe. Umpire will restart play and toss it up with the 2 ruckmen to go at it.
Yeah, the whistle was quick to mouth there, but McFarlane and Caldwell do battle again. Garner takes it and then gets smashed in a tackle by both Michael Lim and Brad Ridings, who rode him to the turf. And we'll have a ball up again. We're still inside the centre square following a goal from Jaden Durran that was a classy finish that showcased his talent in front of this strong crowd at Drysdale. Knocked down Caldwell. Picked up that time for the Tigers by Garner, trying to take it out of the pack. Threw his head over the footy again. Little handball came out towards Birchall that time for Torquay. Got taken in a tackle, but no prior opportunity according to the umpire. 13 minutes gone in the third quarter of the BFL Senior Grade Final for 2012. Queenscliff 11-7-73, lead Torquay 5-4-34.
The Tigers need a spark very soon. It's going to come from the midfield. McFarlane got up on Caldwell's shoulders there and did very well to win the tap. Surprised he didn't give away a free kick. Orvis was met immediately by Birchall, and the ball, touch of the boot, will go out of bounds. But it's true, Torquay do need some momentum very soon, or else they will be in strife.
I'll get a chance here, Gibbsy, because obscured in our view, there was a little touch, I think, on McDonald's boot just as that went across the boundary line. So the Tigers, through Birchall, found Travis Knights on half-back, the ex-Barwon Heads coach, and back at Torquay to finish off his career with one last game today. Knocked away by, I think it was my apologies, Owen coming through that time. Hughes trying to rip the footy off him, but he can't. We're back in the centre of the park here at Drysdale. 14 minutes gone. Queenscliff by 39.
Ball about to restart. McFarlane was hovering around there with Caldwell too. He's done very well in the ruck. The quick hands out. It was Knights who kept running and did well to just launch inside 450. Where is folks? McCorn is there at the back of the pack. Garner tried to push it forward but was beaten to it. Cops a little head high one. Dan measures. Didn't get seen. Also around there was Orvis, and Joe Kelly was happy to see the ball go over the boundary line near Torquay's forward 50.
Torquay with a chance here. If they're going to be any chance, you'd have to think they have to get the next at least 2 or 3 before Queenscliff answer. Malloy trying to take it out of the pack, couldn't. Riding somehow brought it down one-handed. Burnside put his head over it, then was pushed off it. Inside 50, Birchall, folks a chance. Back with a flight though. Owens just read it better than anyone else. You often wonder how he doesn't poll more in the Les Ash medal counts, because there's little doubt over the last couple of years he's been one of the best players in the BFL, not just the best defenders. Roscoe Holmes, kick forward, free kick downfield, will go to Jones. Umpire, despite Jones wanting advantage, has brought him back and then waved him on and then brought him back. So I think the umpire's even confused himself a little bit there. Jones will have to come back around the mark before taking it. It allowed Queenscliff to get a few extra numbers forward. And then Gray read the footy better than McDonald after all that. So he gave a handball off to Troy Bird walking past. And then dangerously on the far side of the ground for Torquay, picking it up that time was Josh Blair. His kick found Aaron Nesbitt, and the Tigers will assess things further afield.
Nesbitt looks to go along the line. He does so through that wing. Scott Hughes pushing up very far out of his usual position in the goal square. Hughes has it about 80 from goal. Who's he going to kick to? Floating around there is Malloy. He decides to go further than that. Folks is waiting it back to pack. Folks for the big launch! Michael Folks tried to claim the mark and wasn't paid. Play on called. Quits will get the hands out now. Tracking it down there is Burnside. He'll take a run. He just goes for a little bit of a jog. Has a couple of bounces. Taking all the time in the world. Sunday stroll. Burnside along the line. Durran is there. The big fly from two Torquay players, and Troy Bird will claim that mark.
Bird, the man in front. Queenscliff fans incensed. They're the ones you can hear getting around our commentary box on the FX microphone. Nesbitt with a short ball to Lovell, found a bit of space, then walked through a Tom Lim tackle, kicked inside, attacking 50, Folks to fly again, Jukes up, couldn't bring it down though, Blake Lim tackled, Malloy, I reckon he copped a little kick as he put Lim down in all that, Brad Malloy, but he bounced back up pretty quickly, and it certainly wasn't deliberate by any stretch of the imagination. Cashin was the other Cooter that you'll see on your screen that picked himself up, ball to be tossed up. In the corridor here for Torquay. 30 metres out, danger zone. Clayton was the third man up to help out McFarlane. Then he was up again, got a knockdown. Leading the race was Malloy, knocked it into the path of a teammate. Snap around the body. Looked very wide, almost out in the full, but just snuck through for a point by Travis Knights, I think it was, who's pushed further afield. Just checking the back line. I believe it was him because he's not at half back. 5-5-35 Torquay, Queenscliff 11-7-73. They cut the margin to 38 points, Torquay, but they're nowhere near close enough at this stage. Need a couple of goals before three-quarter time. We've played 17 minutes in the third term.
Queenscliff would feel like they have all the ascendancy right now, and rightly so, looking at that scoreboard. They move it out of their defensive 50 and did very well. The big fly from McFarlane was all right with the punch over the top. Trying to track it down there was Waith, was pushed as he went over the boundary line, but to no avail, and we'll get a throw in. Far side, Torquay's attacking 50. And they do trail by 38 points, 17.5 minutes gone in this third term.
Ball comes back into play. Cardi this time to contest against Caldwell. Both had a hold of the jumpers, so umpire says keep playing, boys. Gibbs sprints away from the pack. So electric when he gets going. Hobbs read it best, though, in a 3-on-2 situation for Torquay. He's got Troy Bird short, but he says don't give it to me, go further afield, and he'll do that through Knights, who can raffle it with Cardi, and in the end they both ended up watching it. Headley wanted it more, and he leads the race now for Queenscliff. Happy to track it towards the boundary line, which they flirt with dangerously. Bring it back inside, though. That time for Torquay was Blair, couldn't come up with it. Now Queenscliff are off to the races here. Riding's got a paddock to work in. Instead of kick towards Durran, who's going to have to fly against a couple. Durran from the back. Looked spectacular, couldn't bring it down though. Picked up by Hobbs, who gave it off Muncie. Going to have to be good, going to have to be composed, and was. Went over the top. Gray and Cardi, who wants it more? Boundary line wants it more than anyone. It's the beauty of our game. That ugly oval ball that can bounce anyway, and on that occasion it eluded two Torquay players. It'll be tossed back in, 50 metres out from the Queenscliff goal.
Darren's got 4 goals and he wants more. It's exciting. Grabbed it out of the ruck straight away was Blair. Lucky not to get tackled. Just fleet set of foot to get out of there. His kick was all right through the middle, but there was numbers towards Queenscliff. Little tap over the top was okay from Birchall. Dish chance to Gross. The big bump laid by Folks. Gross on his non-preferred left foot was okay. Put it up towards Hughes. Was pushing the back. Maybe even been Garner it was. Gross got his own ball and was tackled immediately by Blake Lim. Asking for the free kick. It wasn't going to be paid. Ball up, called by the umpire. And it is Blake Lim at the bottom of that pack who is getting up a little bit gingerly from that tackle.
Yeah, it was a hard tackle, but all you'd expect from Blake Lim, an uncompromising defender, has been for many years now for the Cooters. Certainly a key pillar of their defensive back six. Knocked down from Orvis that time towards Lewis, and is then taken off hands across the boundary line. So we'll have a chance to reassess things here. 19.5 minutes gone, third term. BFL Senior Grand Final 2012. Queenscliff looking to go back-to-back, lead it by 38 points. Ball back into play, Orvis comprehensively down to Holmes, who's tackled quickly, and we'll have a ball up on the paint. Top of the Torquay 50, they trail by 38 points.
When you're 38 points down, time on third quarter, it's not often that something can happen where you can bring yourself back into a winning situation in the fourth quarter. Torquay will need something special. The tap down from McFarlane actually went straight to Lewis for Queenscliff, who kept on running. Just went over the head of Price, who come up a little bit proppy, maybe a little bit of cramp. He's in strife. Price called for the runner. Gray now turns around and his right foot and was good. Dish it to Cardi. Cardi goes back inside, looking for, it was Blair in fact, but went over his head, and Gibbs was there to float back and take the mark. Was very good. Screaming forward is Aaron Jones. He did all right. Got to the footy. Jones got numbers running forward. Roscoe Holmes pointing to the spot he wants it. Jones decides to go that way. Holmes. Burnside is there too. Burnside was crunched in the back of that pack. Holmes was held without the footy, and the umpire will pay the free kick, much to the delight of the Queenscliff crowd. And a 15-metre penalty to go along with Knights getting involved. Lovell getting involved. Birchall saying a few words. The umpire has given 15-metre penalty.
Yeah, Torquay just losing the plot here. It's disappointing to see a side that has been at least the second best in the competition for so much of this year, and a club with such high expectations. Looks like they're going to come out of today, unfortunately for them, with very little. Their reserves a little bit earlier going down. Holmes with what looks like a pretty short 50, but one that will bring him within scoring distance. He's about 25 metres from goal when he kicks over Josh Gray. Angle the only worry for him. It's about a 45-degree angle. The man wearing number 20, such a hero down at the Cooter Bowl, kicks out to the right. So he's missed after that pump up. 11-8, 74 Queenscliff. Torquay 5-5, 35. 39 points is the Cooters' lead. 21 and a half minutes gone, third quarter.
As the old coach Heath Jamison just walks past the commentary box, a legend of the Queenscliff Footy Club has come to see perhaps the Cooters win their second premiership in as many years. Knights repels it outside defensive 50. Cardi over the top, went for the fly, was all right. Birchall dished hands out to the middle now. Got it to, may have been Gleeson, it was. Gleeson's kick was all right, but Jake Headley copped a high one, kept going. Measures laid the bump. Gray now, will he go on his left? He does. The left foot kick was pretty dodgy. The mongrel pump was all right. Folks was in there at 450. Hughes busy being held without the footy. Play on call. Hughes tries to deck Blake Lim, and eventually the umpire will call for a ball up.
Definitely no prior opportunity there, Gibbsy. Locked up pretty much at the top of the 50 for Torquay, and for the last 10 minutes or so, this is just about as far as the Tigers have got. Haven't looked like kicking a goal, but they might get a chance here. Nesbitt, left foot ball, the man that crossed from Cairns for the 2011 season, playing such a pivotal role in keeping Torquay just close enough to dream at the moment in this third term. Picked up Garner, got McCorn in the forward pocket, but goes further instead. Looks for Folks, top of the goal square. Who's come down with that? There's a mark going the way of the Cooters, just waiting to see.
Headley,
it looks like Headley, which is spectacular because he rose above about 3 or 4. This kid who's been nurtured for so many years by the Cooters is something special, and he'll clear towards Tom Lim, not anyone in particular over there. Lewis in the end ends up slapping it towards Lim, who gives a handball back in just a slow bit of play towards a teammate who'll kick it up towards Gibbs, and Lovell came over the top. Free kick possibly going Torquay's way, and I think it will go to Gray, who's at the bottom of that packet. Will on the far wing.
Yeah, the head-eye tackle was paid there, and Gray will take the footy. He's got a couple of men inside. Cardi is one of them. Decides to dish the hands to Miller instead. Miller with a long penetrating kick inside 50. Gross is setting himself for the mark. Headley did very well, taking the footy. Might have been Lovell. In fact, it was McCorn who had the ball, and again we'll have another throw up inside Torquay's 450. We've seen a lot of this lately. So many stoppages inside the Tigers 50. They can't make any impacts or inroads on goal because Queenscliff are just so tight in their defence. Ball one down by Orv as the tap was all right. Just sharked and kicked straight towards the boundary line. We'll have a throw in deep in Torquay's forward pocket.
Almost 24 minutes gone. Third quarter, the premiership quarter, and the quarter that Queenscliff owned so comprehensively last year in their big win against the odds against Geelong Amateur. They look like doing it again here today after coming in as favourites against Torquay. Caldwell and Jones have got to do it now for the reigning premiers, but Torquay through numbers get it to Gray. His kick smothered off the boot though. Who's going to lead the race? Gleeson knocked it over to McCorn, who kicks towards goal. Looks pretty decent off the boot. I think he's got it. He has. The umpire salutes. Torquay have got 6 now. The Tigers 6-5, 41. Queenscliff 11-8, 74. I said they're just close enough to dream of a minor miracle here, Gibbsy. Maybe that one just provides the little flicker of hope for the Tigers fans who have travelled here today.
Well, if there's one man you want kicking your goals for Torquay, it's Craig McCorney. He's a known goalkeeper. He's kicked about 33, 35 goals this season, playing basically as a half-forward flanker, a great leader and mentor on and off the field, and he's the man they'll want to step up even more in this last quarter coming up.
You just get the feeling at the 24.5-minute mark that maybe if they can snatch one or two Torquay, there might be a flicker in the candle. It is this match, but at the moment it's Queenscliff still holding sway. Knocked down from Caldwell, taken by Gleeson. Some other by Holmes courageously put his head over it and put a left foot ball inside 50. Gray leads the race, drops a chest mark. That was admittedly a difficult one, picked up around the corner. I think it was Lewis, just waited on it and almost snuck it home in the end for Queenscliff, just out to the right. The Cougars move it out to a 34-point lead. They're 11-9-75, Torquay 6-5-41. Tick over 25 minutes gone, third quarter.
Troy Bird looking to bring him back in now, and he does so with a 55-metre punt, looking for Josh Gray. He said it's going to be Hobbs who'll be paid the mark. They both had hands on it. Hobbs calls for a man to run to him. He's got basically no options. Decided to find Gross now. He tried to pick up on the half volley. Cardi spoiled his own man, then sold a couple of bits of candy. Cardi got the hands out eventually. Brown was hopping around there. Nesbitt got it to Gross. Gross can size things up. This would do a fair bit for Torquay. Gross went for home and hit the post. Torquay 6-6-42, Queenscliff 11-9-75. That would have made it a little bit interesting, Tim.
Yeah, would have brought it back below 5 goals, Matt. At the moment, 33 points to lead for Queenscliff, but just the last couple of minutes, Torquay bringing themselves back into it, winning a little bit of the footy and finding a little bit more space, and there has been... Well, then Queenscliff have certainly offered them so far today. The kick out for the Cougars from Measures to Burnside. It'll be back outside. Defensive 50 before we know it here as Burnside looks for Headley. He's going to be in a one-on-one against Nesbitt. It's the experience versus the youth, and the youth comes out on top. Headley working, had space, could have gone himself. Instead, hits up Deguar. Too good. One of the best 34s you'll ever see, I'll tell you that much. Deguar's marked 40 metres out from goal, 30-degree angle. He'll probably kick from just about 42 or 43 once the umpire sets him up. When a ball's delivered like that, there's nothing a defender can do, and Jonathan Hobbs found that on that occasion.
Jake Headley's so good at such a young age too. The defender's presence of mind. He could have gone all the way, had a bit of space in front of him, decided to give it off to Deguar, who was a very trusted kick in front of goal.
Deguar comes in, 33 points to lead before he kicks, looks towards goal. It's pretty handy for Queenscliff, it works its way back. Started about the left post, looked like it had gone straight through. And then the goal umpire broke several hearts by saying it was actually out to the left. So it's a point. 11-10-76 Queenscliff, Torquay 6-6-42, 34 points the Cougars lead. 27 minutes gone in this third quarter of the BFL Senior Grand Final for 2012.
That one would have almost sealed it too. Knights from the kick-out got it out to his captain, Troy Bird. Bird went along the line, trying to find Clayton, who rose very high, went for the spoil, and instead got the hands at the back, but Tom Lim was just lurking there, waiting to pick up the loose ball, and did well, was tackled immediately by Birchall, and the ball just went straight over the boundary line for a throw-in. 27.5 minutes gone. Queenscliff have that elusive lead. Torquay, they can't peg it back. It's 34 points right now, and there can't be much longer left in this third quarter. Ball tossed in. Waiting there is McFarlane. Next to him, Caldwell. McFarlane sort of dragged Caldwell off the ball. Play on call. The quick snap out from Roscoe Holmes was good. Went towards Ash McDonald. He's got a couple of men on him. Gray tracking back, has some space. Dishes hands to Troy Bird, uses his teammates who got the hands at Diamond and back to Gray. The handball from Diamond wasn't great, put Gray under pressure. Gray's kick was affected by that, and McFarlane went for the spoil, which went over the boundary line. A bit of a low percentage spoil there from McFarlane. It'll go out for a throw in.
Yeah, probably could have marked it on that occasion, but probably didn't know the space he had, the Torquay co-coach. Tick over 28 minutes gone. Just about as close as Torquay have been able to get. The margin at 34 points. Over the top Ridings, and then he smashed down to the turf after being the third man up. Lovell did the same thing. Brought an opponent to ground with him. Headley tackled. Just didn't have the peace of mind, maybe not the talk on that occasion, as he was closed down quickly. Troy Bird wants to get things going for Torquay, but won't be able to. The free kick will go to Gleeson, who was the man that laid that tackle on Headley. So with a quick breather, Gleeson will size things up. It gave Queenscliff a chance to get some numbers back. There's only two players inside. The Cougars attacking 50, and it is Deguar and his direct opponent Hobbs. Kick wide into a bit of space, finds Brown for Torquay. He's marked almost smack bang on centre wing far side, goes towards half forward. McFarlane going to have to be good in a contest. He was 2-on-1. Over the back, Cashin got a little knockdown, took it away. Inside 50 now the Tigers. Hughes in a battle of strength with Owens, picks up Hughes out of the pack, goal. Here we go, Torquay. Consecutive goals. It's back under 5 now. Hughes has got 3 of 7. 7-6, 48 Torquay. Queenscliff 11-10, 76. 29.5-minute mark. Just that little bit of hope for Craig McCaw and Michael McFarlane and the Torquay players and fans, Gibbsy, after a late one there from Scotty Hughes.
Yeah, been a very long time since we've seen consecutive Torquay goals. It's what they need. Scott Hughes is the man to step up and rise. If he and folks can work in tandem in the last quarter, it's about to approach us, they could be a chance, Torquay. The ball rises in the middle once more, nearly ticking over to that half-an-hour mark of this third term. The umpire escorts come out. We know there's not long left. Handball out from Garner was okay. Got to his teammate Miller, who's a bit proppy. The kick from Miller went to no one in particular. In fact, it was all Queenscliff. Price has it, and Price will just slow things down and settle and might milk up a little bit of time. The umpire calls him along after only about 10 seconds of play. Price decides to push it down. It was touched off the boot. Did the umpire call it? No. Durham was rising there. Ball went over the back. Still the hands out. Deguar copped a high one, and he will get the free kick. Daniel Deguar will kick from about 40 metres out on about a 45-degree angle, maybe even a little bit more, to almost put Queenscliff, if they haven't already got one out on the cup, they could after this kick.
This one's certainly going to hurt, Matt. 30.5-minute mark, just after Torquay kicked a couple in a row, just to provide, as we mentioned a couple of times, that little bit of hope. Deguar's got 2. We thought he was dead and buried in the first quarter. Looked down for the count, but he's a chance to kick number 3 here. He sits back on the kick, puts it out to the left, and he's missed again. He might only have the 1, actually. Apologies on my poor maths. But he's got 1-2, I believe, now, Daniel Deguar. So Queenscliff 11-11, 77. Lead Torquay 7-6, 48. Makes the lead 29 points. They'll be within 5 goals, it looks like, Torquay at three-quarter time, depending on the result of this kick-out, which finds McFarlane 55 metres from his defensive goal. So the veteran Knights brought out to McFarlane, another veteran, the former South Barwon man. McFarlane went long, the big high leap from Cashin over the top. Might have even been Corbell, it was, who went for the high leap. Didn't come down with the mark, but still Torquay could win it out. Holmes just saw the ball go over that boundary line. We've gone nearly 31.5 minutes, definitely the longest quarter of this match so far. We've seen a few goals, but most have been the way of Queenscliff. Ball to come back into play, centre wing. The far side of the ground, opposite of the clubroom side. If you're watching this one back in a few weeks' time, knocked down that time towards Ridings. It came off Gross, who ended up laying a tackle, and Holmes gave it over. Little underground ball towards Orvis, just couldn't pick it up. Will favour his left boot if he can get onto it. He does, and he ends up gaining about 40-45 metres. Burnside with a one-arm fly. His opponent, Troy Bird, stayed down, but Burnside's going to put some pressure on here. Bird fell over, took it towards the boundary line. There is that siren as we headed towards the 32-minute mark, which is just about what we played in the third quarter of the BFL Seniors Grand Final for 2012. Queenscliff hold a very handy 29-point lead at three-quarter time. The Kudos 11-11, 77. Lead Torquay 7-6, 48. A long way back for the Tigers. It looks like the 2012 Grand Final, unless we see something special, and Premiership might be heading to the Cooter Bowl. Looks like everyone has vacated the ground. There was certainly 2 big huddles at both the Torquay and Queenscliff final addresses for 2012. Now ready for the final quarter of BFL action for 2012. Queenscliff leading Torquay by 29 points heading into it. Here's Matt Gibbs. Orvis won the tap down over McFarlane, did well. Gibbs, the whipper, just moved his way through his opponents. It did very well to get out to Orvis's brother in Luke, who went long looking for Deguar, copped a little push in the back, play on called. Troy Bird just tracking in the back of the pack there. Dished hands out to his teammate in grey. Ever reliable, looked to go for the handball, instead decided to employ the reverse torpedo punt. He wasn't too effective. Found Roscoe Holmes, who just tracked back and did all right to take that chest mark. Holmes instead just bombs it back inside 50, looking for Darren, who's been so effective this game and now has a chance to almost put this game beyond doubt early into this first minute of the final term. Yeah, you just get the feeling that 1 or 2 here for Queenscliff might just end any hopes that Torquay have. Darren now lines up, tough angle for the left footer, but he's done very well. Can you believe it? Nothing's tough for Jaden Darren. 12-11, 83, Torquay 7-6, 48.
That just about confirms it, Tim Mitchell.
It does. His statistics, he's probably going to end up with 4 or 5 today, Gibbsy. Jules Muncie hasn't actually done a bad job. That's just how good Jaden Durran can be from limited opportunities. And once again, a guy that set up a lot of their chances today, Roscoe Holmes, involved in that passage of play. As you mentioned, the lead now out beyond 30 points again for Queenscliff. They lead it by 35. Opening minutes of the final quarter of the BFL Grand Final for 2012. Orvis over the top of McFarlane with his left palm. Lewis with a big hack, couldn't get it moving. Gibbs got slung off it after dropping the footy. Ridings worked his way through congestion. Now looking to get a handball off Holmes, who instead throws it on the boot towards McDonald. Going to wait on the bounce here, and then eventually, after sitting up for him, eluded him, went towards the boundary line, and we'll have the ball tossed back in. We're at Queenscliff's attacking end of the ground here. The left half forward flank, they were about 60 metres from the Cooters' goal.
That 35-point lead, Queenscliff holds true. Orvis tapped over the back, but Gleeson was there to rove it for Torquay. He did okay, tried to get to Nesbitt, but Nesbitt was overrun. Gibbs is there now near that boundary line. Got the hands to Ridings, was absolutely cleaned up, and the ball was just taken over the boundary line once more. Ridings is in a bit of strife down there at the ground. He gets up pretty gingerly, but he'll be all right. He's a tough nut, Brad Ridings, second in the Les Ash medal, as we mentioned before. A very good player as the ball is thrown in once more.
Yeah, been an absolute star for the Cooters this year, and looking like he'll probably be a premiership player as well. Knocked down from Orvis. It was Nick to Luke, and then he gave a handball off to Headley, streaming past. Price took front position, then dropped a chest mark. Gross tackled. Well done, Blake Lim. Umpire said he didn't have it though. After Gross probably took possession and then just fired it off quickly enough to win a free kick. And on his favoured left, he'll kick towards Nesbitt. Undoubtedly one of the Tigers' best. He sat and waited, but just read it well enough with the fluoro laces to elude Cam Burnside. Kicks towards Folkes. Good body work on Cashin. Just threw the shoulder out and managed to shrug him off. He'll kick towards goal with a vacant goal square. Likes what he sees. Owen floating back. Rides the post, but not hurt at all. He's a tough cookie, Steve Owen. Managed to touch it through for a behind for Torquay, which takes their score to 7-7-49. Cuts the lead to 34. Queenscliff 12-11, 83. 3.5 minutes gone. Final quarter of the grand final.
Folks may be a little bit disappointed with his output today, but that was a good spoil from him. The man in question, unfortunately, didn't come off for Torquay, and now Tom Lim has it in the centre of the ground. The mentor, the main man, the coach. Tom Lim has it. He directs his players to go long and go forward. He's looking for Deguar. Durran at the back of the pack. Deguar's ball got punched by Hobbs, who did very well. Been gallant today. One of their best. The ball was down there at ground level. Now fed out to Travis Knights, who couldn't get a handle on the footy. He's tried to pick it up. Was pushed off the ball very well by Lim, but the umpire has picked out a free kick. Going the way of Torquay. It's coming back to Tyler Lovell, who'll take it at centre half back.
Yeah, just a little bit of afters there between Durran and Lovell, and the umpire saw little altercation and favoured the Torquay man, and then he sold a bit of candy audaciously, but got away with it on Durran. Folkes with a big fly from the back. Couldn't bring it down. Stuck a knee in the back of Orvis, though. He'll get back to his feet. Taken by Luke Orvis. It was Nick that copped the knee, and then Luke will go wide towards Ash McDonald. Those three Queenscliff juniors, and I think McDonald missed last year's grand final, so he'd be loving every bit of this at the moment. Taken down Hobbs, dropped a mark. Back of the pack, Price picks up. Right boot, goal. It's that simple at the moment for the Cooters. They are just that darn good. This is a side that 3 or 4 years ago was bottom of the table, down and out. Their coach walked out midway through pre-season, and now they are the powerhouse of the BFL, no doubt about that. 13-11-89, Torquay 7-7-49, 40 points a lead, as big as it's been all day. Almost 5 minutes gone, final term.
The work Heath Jamison, the work of Tom Lim, it starts making sense now. This is what it all comes out to. This is why all that hard work pays off. Torquay hold this 40-point lead now. 5 minutes into the final term. They can't be denied. The Cooters are, you'd almost say, 20 premiers.
Taken by Orvis, Nick that time, hacked it towards the attacking 50 for Queenscliff. Troy Bird did well to outpoint Ben Price, and then gave it off to Gray, who's working again for Miller, who's marked 70 metres from his defensive goal on the left half-back flank. He kicks in board, wants Gross, who's going to have Lim flying over the back. It was Blake that time. Bounce eluded Clayton. Gross had to put the pressure on again. Blake Lim fired it back to Roscoe Holmes. Surely a contender for best on ground today. Been great. Kicked out towards Ben Price, who got smashed to the turf by Tyler Lovell. His teammates on the Queenscliff bench say, pick yourself up, Benny. You played a good game today, and you're only about 25 minutes away from being crowned a premiership player. As the ball's going to be tossed back in on centre wing.
Price has been very solid, and so too is Nick Orvis in the ruck. He's been a workhorse all day. Lovell was held without the footy, and instead the free kick goes against him. Quite surprisingly there on that one, but it'll be Waith who takes the free kick. He's got Ridings running past who wanted the handball, but instead it'll be Sam Waith who sizes up his options. He's got a couple of men floating around inside 450. Who's giving him leads? Waste decides to run around off his mark and goes long. Going to be over the head of Ash McDonald. Gray went for the spoil, probably missed the ball, but still collected McDonald. Knights was hovering around in there. The kick around the corner from Bird was okay, but only as far as Holmes, who was there in the middle to mop things up, a kick behind the play. Holmes put it down in front of Ben Price. The man kicked the goal a moment ago, and Price takes the mark, 50 from goal.
Been so good today, Roscoe Holmes. Just seems to have found the footy where others haven't been able to, and we often know him as a bit of an outside player. Not that there's any slate on his reputation. He just wins a lot of ball running past because he works so hard, but a lot of it has been contested in the clinches today, and on that occasion found himself in acres of space, managing to hit up Price. And now Price will kick from about 48 metres just inside the paint. He starts it on line. It's going to fade right, just not make the distance, be knocked down by Deguara, and then Gray, in his true defensive style, will slap it over the goal line. So lead out to 41 now for Queenscliff, 13-12-90, Torquay 7-7-49. It would be one of the biggest footballing miracles you've ever seen if Torquay pulled something off from here 7 minutes into the final term.
Very true, Tim Mitchell. The ball came out from Torquay and was blasted very long. Gross has got about a 1-on-3. And Headley won out and did very well to use his body. Headley went across the ground now, looking for Ash McDonald, who did well to take the ball out in front of him with a big juice of his. He's been solid today and across all the season. McDonald goes along the line now and finds Michael Lim. Lim just sizes things up and takes his time, and why not? The Cougars can afford to do that. They got Roscoe Holmes inside. Lim instead just decides to wait on his options. Still's not too sure what he does, and eventually Holmes pushes back, and Lim just dishes to him, a little chip. Holmes decides to go for a run now, dances around Gleeson and goes long, and finds Daniel Gibbs. How did he make that space? I'm unsure. He just seemed to break away from his opponent. Gibbs, dish back, going with a long punt. Who's waiting there? Aaron Jones in the goal square. Takes the mark, and this will be a goal. You'd have to confirm it almost, but Jones will kick from directly in front, 5 metres out, to put Queenscliff's 14th goal on the board.
The big lady Gibbsy is just warming up her vocal cords because this one is about to be signed, sealed and delivered.
Jones kicks the goal. Queenscliff moved to 14-12-96. Torquay 7-7-49. If that fat lady isn't already seeing, she is now, Tim Mitchell.
Get the beers ready at the Queenscliff Hotel. Get the kegs ready at the footy club. Get everything ready for some celebrations because Queenscliff is going to be rocking. They're going to be 2012 premiers. They've been the supreme side all season, and they are putting an exclamation point on what has been a great 2012. They're 14-12-96. Torquay 7-7-49. That lead stretches to 47 points. 9 minutes gone in this final quarter. Caldwell into the centre of the park to ruck against McFarlane. That time, the co-coach for Torquay won it down to Nesbitt. Those two of their better players. Garner couldn't spin out of a Headley tackle and eventually got a handball to Miller. Gleeson a chance, got a Shepherd from Cardi, then spun out of a tackle, gave it back to Miller. Got Nesbitt working for him, but went to Garner instead. Over the top, Gleeson finds himself in a bit of space. Instead of going for goal, sets it up to the hot spot, back with a flight and taking a nice marks measures. He is just so composed across half-back. A great player to have there. Kicked for Ridings, but wasn't able to get it there. And now Clayton's got a chance for Torquay just to add a bit of respectability to this scoreboard.
Clayton goes deep inside 450. Gross was there at the back of the pack, couldn't take the mark. Folks also dancing around a couple. Snaps around on the right boot. But that's the story of the day. Out in the full from Michael Folks. He hasn't had the impact he'd have liked. And Queenscliff will take the free kick from deep in their defensive 50, the back pocket.
No doubt that there's bigger and better things to come from this Torquay side. They have been second or third best for most of the season, and it's going to be the true tale that is written today as well. They've just been second best in a number of ways to Queenscliff, but it's certainly no slate on the work that Craig McCorn and Michael McFarlane have done to turn this side into a grand finalist. For the last few years, it's been all about Geelong Amateur and Drysdale and Queenscliff, and now Torquay are back on that rung where they want to be, but just one away today. Kick outside defensive 50 for Queenscliff, went towards Lim, and then Burnside got slung off it without the footy. So bit of discipline from Clayton gives Queenscliff a chance to get the ball moving in a positive direction. He gives it off to Measures, who took his time just to hit up McDonald leading out. Plays that kind of Rewalt role so well, just leading up the ground for Queenscliff and marking on a lead. He's done it on a number of occasions today. Takes it wide towards Gibbs, who slides into the ball and took it just inside the boundary line and can now go inside despite Significant numbers being back for Torquay, which is why he's looked towards Holmes and Orvis missed it. Luke that time, and Holmes has now got Nick Orvis on this side of the ground. So it's Nick, Luke and Roscoe Holmes all involved. They can give it to Luke Orvis, who we know has got a booming left. Could have gone goals, instead went for Durran, put a right hand up, couldn't bring it down under pressure from Muncie, keeps it in, and then that ball's out in the full off Muncie's shin, which is so unfortunate for the Tigers, but just typifies the lack of luck they've had today. And yes, they have come up against a more skilled and a better side at the end of the day, but they haven't had a lot of luck either. Durran slots around on the right boot. I don't think that's been touched. That was as casual, as laconic as you like, but that is Jaden Durran to a T. Casual bloke, damn good footballer, and for the second year in a row he's going to be a premiership player with Queenscliff. 15-12, 102 the Cooters. Torquay 7-7, 49, 53 points now the lead. 12 minutes gone in the BFL Grand Final for season 2012.
The Cooters now have double Torquay score. It just shows the magnitude in which they have dominated in this second half. Been quality all around the ground, especially up forward with Jaden Durran kicking his 6th goal. Been very influential. Now back in the centre, McFarlane went up against Orvis. McFarlane tireless all day, and he did win that tap. Gross then in front was just nudged under it by Blake Lim. Did okay. Garner trying to track that one down. The kick out from Michael Lim was all right. The ball went straight towards the boundary line, just tumbling down there towards the Cooters interchange bench, and they're all pretty happy.
Big crowd gathered here today at Drysdale to watch Queenscliff go back to back. I'd love to know if it's the first time that's happened, possibly the first time in their history they've won 2 in a row. I know there were some dominant sides, kind of 60s and 70s possibly for the Cooters, but that might have been before the BFL days. This side certainly is one that looks like being at the top of the tree for a long time to come. That time a kick from Holmes went forward but bounced out across the boundary line. So just Queenscliff's attacking side of the centre circle will have the ball tossed back in with Orvis and McFarlane, as they have for much of the day, doing battle. Tom Lim, wobbly ball inside 50, gives Durran and Deguar a chance. So Deguar from over the back, got a little knockdown. Durran laid the tackle, still under the pump. Deguar just slammed a player off the footy. McDonald gives it to Durran on his left boot. Which way is it going to bounce for Queenscliff? Bounces the wrong way, just took a little bit of leg break and has gone out to the left. So it's another behind registered by Queenscliff. They're 15-12, 102. Torquay, 15-13, 103 to Torquay 7-7, 49.
I can confirm it will be the first back-to-back premiership during Queenscliff's time in the BFL, the 41 years this competition has existed. It should probably be only their 3rd premiership during this time as well. So a rare premiership, but a great premiership for Queenscliff once their final siren blows. 13.5 minutes gone now. It'll be Folks who wins the free kick, well out behind his range. So he decides to go short instead, puts it up in front of Hughes, who's tracking this one down. And he's been quiet today, Scott Hughes, but he's got this one, and he'll have a chance to kick his 4th goal even.
He's going to finish with probably 101 or 102 for the season, Scott Hughes. And despite being pretty well held today, still has 3 and is looking at 4, although it is on the angle that we're on, which gives us a pretty decent vantage point of this kick, a fairly difficult shot at goal.
Hughes lines him up. We're right behind him here. The kick started well. It's hung to the right and just deviated back at the last moment. So Hughes gets the goal. It's a consolation for Torquay, though, nothing else. But 8-7-55, trailing Queenscliff 15-13, 103, 14.5 minutes gone, final term.
48 points, still the margin for Queenscliff. You can just about pencil it in. It certainly wasn't the case last year at this point, although they were a lot more dominant than most people would have suggested against Geelong Amateur. They've been the dominant force for 2012 throughout the home and away season. And now, as we mentioned, they're just going to put that extra little bit of icing on the cake. The Torquay centre line just came together and had a little bit of a chat about how they're going to extract this one, but it has been Queenscliff mostly out of the centre of the park for a lot of the day, and it might be on this occasion again because Orvis tapped it down towards Tom Lim. The fly's going to come from Jones in the long jukes, and he took front position, so the umpires paid that mark. Got McDonald working short for him. If he puts the jukes up, he'll mark here, Ash McDonald, and does. The grey's going to get pulled back about a metre or so, which will mean that McDonald will probably kick from about 51. Could have given it off to Measures, who's still working, and he can still kick to Measures, but McDonald backs himself, kicks from 50, started it right, and it was always going right. So disappointing finish. Won't matter for the Cooters, but Ash McDonald's personal tally is about the only thing that behind matters for. 15-14, 104. Torquay 8-7, 55. 49-point lead, almost 16 minutes gone.
The big fly there from Clayton was okay for Torquay. It's almost time for the Queenscliff players to stand out there and soak it up. There's only about 10 minutes left in this match, but it's been a very enthralling one. The umpire pings the Queenscliff man for holding the ball. Down at ground level, it's Headley who's in a bit of strife. He's struggling to get up. Standing the mark was Cash, and folks went long inside 450, looking for Hughes. The ball was spoiled by Owen, who's been tireless all day. A workhorse in defence. Gross dished the hands out on his left. Birchall also on the left foot. Snapped around the corner, looking for Hughes, and he does take the mark. Strong dukes from Scott Hughes. Could he have 2 in as many minutes?
He might well here, but it's not going to, if he ends up with 4 or 5, probably tell the true tale of how good Steve Owen has been in limiting his opportunities, and probably a big focus, I would have imagined, Gibbs, in the lead up to this for the Queenscliff midfield as well, would have been limiting the amount of ball that went to Hughes and Folkes, and they've done that with aplomb today. Definitely,
we saw in that first half that Hughes and Folkes weren't getting the opportunities, and that's why they were gone cold. Hughes does kick his second goal in as many minutes, but it is, of course, only a consolation. Torquay progressed to 9-7, 61. Queenscliff 15-14, 104. 16 and a half minutes gone, final turn.
So that lead cut back now to 43 for Queenscliff. It obviously doesn't matter if you win a grand final by 1 or if you win it by 10 goals. At the moment, we just tick over the 17-minute mark, and the scoreboard here reads 15-14, 104 Queenscliff. Torquay 9-7, 61. Ball toss back up. Caldwell and McFarlane do battle. Michael McFarlane must have some tank because he's been in there almost all the day. That time Nesbitt gave it straight to Waith. Waith's ball's pinpoint, bang. Deguar marks, no chance for Hobbs. And he'll go back and shoot for Queenscliff 16th to extend the margin back to 49.
Deguar is at some resurrection after being down in that first corner. I think he'd just be loving being out there right now. Obviously he wasn't a part of Premiership success last year, but he's joined the club in 2012. Has had a great impact, kicked 70 goals for the season, and this will be one of his sweetest.
Deguar sits back on it, and it is true. The man that joined them in the Geelong Footy League last year is going to celebrate his first year in the BFL with a Premiership medallion around his neck in just over 10 minutes' time. Queenscliff 16-14, 110. Torquay 9-7, 61. That margin is back to 49 points, 18 minutes into the final term.
There's not too much more you can say about the Queenscliff team, about how dominant they've been. As you can see now in there, the Queenscliff midfielders just talking it up, and I think they're just speaking to each other about how they don't want to let the sort of occasion overawe them. They've got this last 10 minutes where they can soak up the opportunity, get in the moment, and really just take chance of how good this Premiership win has been.
Yeah, they won't want to let up now because they've been so good for 3 quarters and the best part of a fourth now. Nesbitt with a handball wide. Lovell kicked it out of mid-air, managed to gain about 30 metres. Measures with one arm grabbed. Has taken one of the most spectacular grabs you'll ever see. That's almost Carey-esque in a way, the way that they used to hold on to his right arm and he'd still take it with his left. He kicked wide to Cashin that time, and now Cashin's gone towards a contest between Waith and Gray. Waith did well because he was a much smaller opponent, but the umpire didn't deem it as well as I did, and he gave Gray a free kick, and now Gray can find Garner. Acres of space, centre of the ground, has to be aware of his opponent because he had Burnside coming at him pretty quickly. Now they'll go inside 50. Brown, 3-on-1 situation that he kicked to. Queenscliff players spoiled each other in the end. That's how desperate they are to get their hands on it. McCorn fell into it. The umpire said no free kick. Owens came up with it somehow. Not sure how he did. Kick outside 50. Price flew from the back. Gibbs trying to take it. Got Holmes with him. Holmes laid the shepherd in the end on Lovell. Gibbs wants to work inside. In the end goes along the line. Waith and Bird in the contest. Waith did pretty well. Looked like he might have been grabbed, and now he's a chance to come up with the footy again. He can give it wide to Price. Geez, they do this well. The Cooters back inside. Burnside got pushed off the footy, wasn't tackled though, so it's play on. Gleeson picks up, looks towards the centre of the ground where he's got a teammate.
Diamond it is.
In Diamond.
Diamond pushed it inside 450. The big fly over the back from Owen was to no avail. Folkes was there in the contest too. McCorn fed the hands out to his teammate in Hughes. Hughes' little dinky kick wasn't good, and Ridings could just chop it up and can soak up some time now. Instead he decides to push it out to that far side and finds his teammate in Blake Lim. Lim goes a little bit of a dash, has a bounce, gives to Joe Kelly, and we'll get the 1-2 back. Lim along the line now, looking for Ben Price, who instead received the free kick for chopping of the arms. There's a bit of biff down there too of the other side, a bit of animosity, and a Torquay player has been taken to the ground, Tim.
Yeah, still a bit of feeling in this one, and it often happens when a side, as you can probably tell, is out of this contest, but the footy stays on as the Queenscliff trainers rush onto the field, and at the moment Sammy Wade's got the footy at half forward for the Cooters. Gibbs goes back with a flight of the ball, just can't bring it down. Picked up for Torquay that time by Blair, who will swing onto his left, look towards the centre of the park. Got to keep watching the footy here, it's tough to at the moment. Gleeson goes through the centre of Drysdale Recreation Reserve, looks to hit up Hughes, who takes one of his bootlaces. Owens encroached according to the umpire, and Hughes is probably going to kick his 6th for the game now, amazingly, and his 3rd for this quarter. Still a bit of biff and some yellow cards as well being handed out on the far side. Some beer cans being thrown, not the prettiest scenes you'll ever see at a grand final, but that's how hopefully this one will be remembered for what it's going to be, which is a great back-to-back victory for the first time for Queenscliff in their history as a Bellarine Footy League side.
Most certainly, even the emergency umpire was in there trying to sort things out in his trackies. Michael Folks came from about 50 metres away to rush in and throw his weight around. Finally, Scott Hughes will take the free kick after the umpires finished adjudicating. Queenscliff trainers still on there just sorting out some of their fallen men. Hughes still waiting to take the free kick, and there's a bit of confusion down there at ground level. Yeah,
I think we've just had to wait until a couple of those beer cans that did get thrown on were cleared, and all the trainers and water boys and everything else that was out there, Gibbsy, as you mentioned, were out of the scene, but it looks as if that is the case now, and Hughes is going to go back, kick from about 25 metres out directly in front. I think it might have been Folks who was yellow carded as well, because he's coming to the bench. Torquay will finish this one with 17 as Hughes sits back. There might have even been 2 Torquay players yellow carded because they're both on their way off, Nathan Brown as well. Hughes sits back, he's kicked 6. He's going to finish with 104, 105 now for the season if he can snag another one. Torquay 10-7-67, 43 points in arrears of Queenscliff. 16-14, 110. Chaotic scenes in the last minute or so, but all that's going to matter for Queenscliff is when that final siren sounds very shortly.
That's the drama of a grand final too. I believe it was only Folks who got the yellow card rather, because Garner came on to replace the man Nelson Brown as the ball returns to the middle. Queenscliff have that unassailable lead, and they are soaking up the opportunity. Caldwell on the ruck now against McFarlane. Caldwell went up early and won the tap 2, got it down to Holmes. Holmes' kick was deflected by Travis Knights, but Holmes kept on running, got it inside 50 to Durran, who spilt the chest mark, one that he usually would have taken. Durran kept on running, fed it hands at the back, and the umpire has picked out yet another free kick going the way of Travis Knights in a bit of an anticlimax.
Yeah, it's against Tom Lim, and
50.
The umpires, I think, just giving Torquay a little bit of love here because of the margin, and probably knowing that regardless of what they pay, things are going to go Queenscliff's way at the end of the day. As we tick over 23 minutes here in this final quarter, it still is a 43-point lead for the Cooters, who have got plenty of numbers back as well. Hughes on the lead, Orbis read it best, couldn't bring it down. Big Nick got a left-hand handball towards Lewis, who gave it off in turn to a couple of teammates working past. One of those was Owen, whose left foot ball goes very wide and eluded both Garner and the man he was trying to hit up, which was Aaron Jones on that occasion, and it'll allow Jared Garner to bring the ball back in towards Gross for Torquay.
Garner does so, and Gross has it now. Knights just enjoying it. Knights has a swing at Gibbs in his last ever game. Advantage, umpire says play on. Miller goes inside 450 looking for Hughes. Hughes is the box seat, and he takes the mark, but there is a bit of biff behind play, and Jones and Knights getting into it, the crowd getting involved too.
Yeah, some pretty ridiculous biff at the end of the day as well. I can understand that it's your last game of footy and everything else, but it's not the way that I'm sure Travis Knights, who has had a glittering career at local level and also in the waffle as well,
Bird gets a yellow card.
would want to be remembered. There's yellow cards for Troy Bird. There's players being sent from the field. There's so much feeling in all this. Torquay will finish with 16 now all of a sudden. The Queenscliff fans will clap, I should say, the Torquay captain to the bench. Scott Hughes will go back and shoot for number 7, which shows how really one out Torquay have been for a lot of the day, that if he kicks this, he's kicked 7 of 11. Hughes sits back on his kick, it's out to the right. The Queenscliff fans will love it even more. 10-8-68 Torquay, Queenscliff 16-14, 110. We really are just counting down now to the inevitable at the 25-minute mark of the final quarter.
Definitely everyone just playing out time now. It's a bit sad to see those end scenes mar a game like this, but hopefully it's not remembered for those fiery scenes where Torquay down to 16 players. The ball went over Owen's head. He was pushing the back. He will receive the free kick, and the cheers of the Queenscliff crowd go up. The umpire finally gives him middle love in this last term. Owen has the ball and decides to employ the long kick. Waiting down there is Price. Queenscliff will have plenty of space now with 2 extra men on the field. The ball bounced off. Near it was Michael Lim, and he did get the hands out eventually inside to Burnside. Burnside went to Ridings, couldn't get a handle on it. Ridings just laid out Aaron Gleeson and it was Blair who went inside for Torquay. Again, the umpire picks out a free kick, making their mark now downfield. Yeah, good call, Tim.
And I think it might go to Hughes even, because he was the closest man to that situation. He's pointing though at Diamond, I believe. No, Hughes is going to be the man that takes the kick, and we'll get another chance to slot what I believe would be number 7, Gibbs. You can confirm that for me, but he's been very good in this last term at least as well, but well and truly the fizz has gone out of this contest. Almost a 26-minute mark, 42 points, Queenscliff's lead. Can Hughes cut it to 36? He starts the ball out to the left, but it sneaks inside the 2 big sticks. So it is another goal registered by Scotty Hughes. He's got 7 of 11 for Torquay, 11-8, 74 the Tigers. Queenscliff 16-14, 1-10. Ugly scenes in the last 5 minutes or so. Punch-ons everywhere. Torquay with 16 men on the field. They manage a couple of late consolations, but it's still a 36-point lead to the Cougars.
Yeah, quite one-dimensional from Tigers all day, really. Hughes kicking 7 of 11. He's been such a quality player throughout the year too, so it just shows his dominance and Torquay's reliance on Scott Hughes in that 450. The ball returns to the centre line once more. Orvis went up against McFarlane. Orvis came down very proppy and is still limping now. All players hands on deck while Orvis holds his knee, and he might be in a bit of strife there. He could come off. The players just congregating around that pack now in the middle. 26.5 minutes gone, final term.
I'm sure, Gibbsy, if you're a Cougars player at the moment, the last place you want to be is the bench. You want to be out there when that final siren sounds and get to savour the moment. Orvis came over the top, knocked it down to Jones. Garner takes it away from the pack. Torquay to go inside attacking 50 again. High ball, Malloyle's hit under it, was a chance. Knocked away by Measures, who somehow found his way into the contest. Holmes head over it, ducked into the tackle, which that time was from Josh Blair, and we'll have a ball up. We've ticked over 27 minutes now in this final quarter of the BFL season for 2012. Queenscliff lead it by 36 points. They're going back-to-back in 2012.
Andy second with the siren now. Players are soaking up. Ridings gets the hand out to Burnside. The umpire escorts are ready. The siren will blow anytime soon. Knights tapped it away from Jones. Knights has been in a bit of feeling, and him and Jones just share a bit of a moment with the final minutes of this grand final elapsing.
So again, it'll be tossed back in, centre wing, right in front of the blue, red and white faithful, and there's plenty of them that have turned out today. McFarlane with a knockdown towards Miller. Couldn't come up with it, just 3 or 4 sat on top of him, and the umpire said, the only way we're clearing this contest is if you give it to me, lads, and that's exactly where the ball's going to land, between the Bellarine Footy League and Dow Signs here on Drysdale Recreation Reserve. Orvis and McFarlane. McFarlane won it down. Holmes, the fend off was high, but it doesn't matter because his kick is going to go out on the full, and eventually Torquay, maybe on that front, will get a little bit of justice in a way, Gibbsy, because they'll get the ball back to be taken by the man that I'm sure will be enemy number 1 down Queenscliff way, Travis Knights, after the last acrimonious 5 or so minutes of footy.
Perhaps, I'm sure it means little, but players who make a physical impact in grand finals are often remembered. We think back to Sam Clark last year for Geelong Aberdeen and that infamous incident with Daniel Gibbs. Knights goes long along the line, looking for McFarlane, who rose up for the challenge but was beaten to it by Owen, who did very well just paddling along the ground. Burnside was met with it immediately and then held without the footy play on call. Holmes just crashed into the tackle, Diamond throwing his raid around, so too Michael Lim in there at ground level. All players hands on deck, and the umpire will call for his ball.
Looks like it's going to be a long final term with the few stoppages we had there between the Hughes goals and the punch-ons and everything else that have highlighted this final term. Almost 29 minutes gone. Knocked down McFarlane. Umpires picked a free kick out going the way of Nick Orvis, who'll receive the footy back from Roscoe Holmes. Got a man inside defensive 50, but he'll go further afield instead. Try and maybe register one more 6-pointer here, the Cougars. Picked up Cardi. His handball inboard finds Gross, who works onto his left boot now. Blake Lim an option, but instead it goes towards the man in 24 today for Queenscliff. It is Joe Kelly who marked, did it comfortably, gave it to Measures. Measures finds McDonald. He's got so much space to work in out the far side. Ash McDonald, little chip ball, wanted Price, kicked it straight down the throat of Gray instead, who marked but got given the right to play on by the umpire anyway. Lim over the top. McCorn got a knockdown. It was Blake Lim that knocked in the path of Measures, I should say. Ridings laid the shepherd over to Luke Orvis, and now they've got Kelly working past. His ball gains about 20 metres to Lim. McDonald out on his feet, could have provided an option further afield. Burnside leads at the coach, who's pretty content to hold the footy at the moment. Brings it back inboard now to find Burnside. Ball almost slipped out of his grasp, but now he'll switch even further afield. Wanted Owens, kicked it straight down the throat of Clayton, who gave it over the top, wanted Hughes. That handball wasn't pretty, not sure where it was headed in the end. Lewis under pressure. There's some very tired bodies out there at the moment. Orvis bends over, picks up. Great skills for a big man. Kicks back towards Ridings, who falls over. Comedy of errors at the moment. 30.5 minutes gone, final term. McCorn to half forward. Free kick downfield for Torquay against Burnside. It's going to be taken by, it looks like, just waiting for his number. I think it was Birchall.
It may have been Birchall, yeah, and inside towards Malloy, who copped the hacking free kick there. And Malloy will take the shot. It may well just be after the siren. There surely can't be a lot of time left. 30.5 minutes gone, just ticking on 31 as the ball returned to him. It was Birchall who had that earlier free kick given against him. Malloy now has it, and he will kick from just about the 50-metre mark for nothing more than what would be a consolation goal. Malloy just sort of stabbed at his kick and was okay, and found Hughes, who amazingly is lining up for what we think is goal number 8.
He has been their go-to man today, Scott Hughes, as he has been for so much of this season. Spoke about Queenscliff putting exclamation marks on their season. Scott Hughes might do it here as well, but it won't matter at the end of the day. That siren was what you just heard. Queenscliff are officially 2012 premiers in the Bellarine Football League. For the first time, they go back-to-back. Blue, red and white besieges the Drysdale Recreation Reserve. The final score, 16-14, 110 Queenscliff. Torquay 12-8-80. A side that dominated the home and away season has just put an exclamation mark on season 2012. The blue, red and white, the Queenscliff will be rocking for the next couple of days. They are the 2012 Bellarine Football League Senior Premiers.
Sweet.